traffic.
From the Pyramid Roofing Time-Saving Traffic Center. Good morning and hope your Wednesday is off to a tremendous start today. The roads are pretty quiet to this point early on in the morning. No crashes, obstructions, or any slow traffic buildup that's causing delays in the metro. So if you're heading out soon, nothing that should slow you down. Just remember to always stay safe and wear that seatbelt. I'm Peter Krenzer. This time-saving traffic is brought to you by Modern Real Estate.
Introducing Modern Real Estate, the game changer in Nebraska's property market. With a competitive 2% commission rate, we're making buying, selling, and investing more affordable and transparent than ever. Visit modernrealestateco.com and experience the future of real estate today.
A team succeeds when they work together. Banking's no different. At UBT, we're in your corner for every financial move you want to make. Your money's backed by a roster of experts who put in the work to know you and your community. So whether you're opening a savings account, buying a home, or planning your future, you always know who to turn to. Working together toward your financial goals. That's a win in our playbook. Union Bank and Trust. Equal housing lender, member FDIC.
The history of Mexico is long and storied. Mexican Independence Day is September 16th, and to honor that important day, Kopal Mexican Grill invites you to a tequila tasting and tapas event on September 14th with more than 6 premium tequilas and 6 premium tapas courses. Reservations are required. Please call Kopal Mexican Cuisine to confirm your spot. Get details on Facebook at Kopal-Omaha. Kopal Mexican Cuisine, 129th and Maple. Viva Mexico!
Cross Strain Brewing Company, the official sponsor of One Beer Friday on 1620 The Zone. Cross Strain Brewing Company, always evolving, trying to make every beer enjoyable, drinkable, and leave you asking, what are they going to do next? Join them at the original location in La Vista, downtown at their DraftWorks location, or be the hero at your tailgate this fall when you bring a Cross Strain brew with you. Find out what's on tap at strainbrewing.com. Cross Strain Brewing Company, where beer is never boring.
I'm Taylor Bishotti with NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network. The Tuesday deadline for all 32 teams to trim their rosters to 53 has come and gone. Several notable players released, including Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney, Patriots quarterback Bailey Zappi, Lions quarterback Nate Sudfeld, and Cardinals quarterback Desmond Ridder. Elsewhere, the Rams traded linebacker Ernest Jones and a 2026 6th-round pick to the Titans for a 2026 5th-round pick. Jones had been seeking a new deal as he was entering the final year of his rookie contract. Cowboys wide receiver CeeDee Lamb officially signed his new 4-year, $136 million contract. Lamb joins Justin Jefferson, A.J. Brown, Amon-Ra St. Brown, and Tyreek Hill among wideouts averaging more than $30 million annually. The 49ers placed running back Elijah Mitchell on season-ending injured reserve today with a hamstring injury. This has been NFL Network Now on the Westwood One Radio Network.
Are you a victim of the timeshare trap and think there's no way out? Well, Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has helped over 35,000 families out of financial hardship by getting them out of bad timeshares, and they may be able to help you too. If you were misled into signing a timeshare agreement that is a lifetime commitment, if you were told timeshare is a great investment or your maintenance fees will never go up, you need to get the facts about timeshare cancellation. For over 10 years, Wesley Financial Group has been dedicated to helping folks get out of a lifetime of debt by canceling their timeshares. So they created a timeshare exit information kit, which reveals how the timeshare industry works and what your options are for cancellation. Simply call Wesley right now and they will send you a timeshare exit information kit absolutely free. See how you can become timeshare free. Call 800-761-0000. That's 800-761-0000. Again, 800-761-0000.
Time to get well suited for fall with Lindley Clothing. The new fall styles are arriving daily from favorite brands like Bugatti, Holbrook, Tommy Bahama, and Johnny O. Looking for something dress casual? Check out the shirts from David Donahue. With John Marlene and their great staff, including 2 in-house tailors, you'll look and fit great. Located in Linden Market off 132nd and Dodge, Lindley Clothing has convenient upfront parking. Omaha's largest selection of menswear at Omaha's best price. Lindley Clothing, dressing the Metro for nearly 90 years. Find your fall look at Lindley Clothing, 132nd and Dodge.
When it comes to concrete repair, Everlevel has some serious game. Coach Greg McDermott here to coach you on why you should choose Everlevel concrete repair. They've got the fundamentals to fix your cracked and uneven concrete, and their products will give you the best defense against future damage. It's a fraction of the price compared to replacement, and their solutions come with a long-term transferable warranty. Working with Everlevel is a slam dunk. Call Everlevel Concrete Repair today for your free inspection.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/radio. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you, discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/radio and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/radio. That's hims.com/radio for your free online visit. hims.com/radio.
Sean Callahan breaks down the UTEP game and fall camp. Thursday at Holy Ghost Church, celebrating 50 years of Husker Nights. Doors open at 5, program starts at 7, and it's only $10 for adults, $5 for children. Sponsored by Mama's Pizza and Beer City.
Back to 1620 The Zone's Red Out Week. Presented by Union Bank and Trust, where your money has people.
Coach Rule does a great job of our team in preparing us that no moment's big enough. He puts us in situations at practice, and it would just make it a lot of fun. Let my guys run the show and get the ball out wherever they need to be and just have fun. You know, it's just like when I was a kid playing the game, so I'm excited.
Get the left-handed thing. You guys got to see where she's going. It's out there, left hand. We got to shape on that. Harper, no bounce blocks. Wait, get there, go high and use the block. Keep the pressure on. Everything we do, discipline, Andy.
Alec puts it away, and Nebraska starts 2024 with a victory over Kentucky.
The environment was really, really great. I love the fast pace, the short timeouts. I mean, it just was really moving.
Yeah, I think something that was really big for us was just understanding how good we can be when we really come together and we trust everybody to not worrying about what's happening on the other side of the court.
First pitch to Paul DeYoung. Fastball drilled high in the air, right center field. Thomas to the track. Thomas to the wall. He's out of room. Paul DeYoung goes deep to the opposite field. A 2-run homer.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Mornings with Sharp and Handley on 1620 The Zone, 1620thezone.com, and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Nick, and Jimmy.
Hey, guys. Great to see you. Hey, good to see you, too. Good to see all of you guys.
Hi.
Happy Hump Day, everybody.
Yeah, what's great about it?
Whoa.
Yeah, my team got their eviction notice last night.
Yeah, you're 8-16 the last 24, and you should have never moved the goalpost, but I don't want to get into it.
You know they're 21-20 in the Central?
Yeah, it happens.
A winning record.
It happens. Did you know the Kansas City Royals wake up this morning, they're tied for first place in the American League Central after losing 106 last year?
On August 28th.
Matt Quintero, hello. You will be receiving the American League Manager of the Year. But I don't know if it's over. I don't want to get into that discussion yet because I want to ease you into some pain.
Come on, Tanner, baby.
But Hump Day is a good day. It's the middle of the week.
It is.
It's kind of a, I'm not opposed to Mondays. Like Tuesday is kind of a slog day for me. Wednesday, it starts to ramp back up. Like if I had to rank my days of the week, Wednesday is not near the bottom. I like my hump game.
It's not near the bottom, but it's not near the top. It's where it should be. It's right in the middle. It's smack dab in the middle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like Dylan Raiola. Do not overcomplicate things. Okay? Keep it simple. But welcome in, everybody. Welcome into a Wednesday edition where... there's not a lot of things in this world that we agree on or we watch together and we kind of have the same opinion. Nebraska volleyball is one of those things. So I said the other day, Nebraska volleyball currently is what Nebraska football used to be. Yes. Success, personality, likability factor, where everybody is waiting for you to crush the next opponent, the kind of coverage that is given. And it is amazing around here. And it's not just Nebraska volleyball. It's Creighton, Omaha, all the other volleyball, women's sports in general. In this state, the coverage that it gets compared to other states, similar size. And you have a lot of media that cover Nebraska volleyball and they go on the road. But then you have fans last night that showed up in Louisville. Yeah. And it's like, of all of the angst of Nebraska football and not being in a bowl game since 16, and that's supposed to be the signature sport, and it kicks you in the codpiece. Like, Nebraska volleyball is that for some, like a default of, all right, I just need an outlet. Coach Cook, go crush somebody, crush the souls of the Kentucky Wildcats. And it was just reminded last night in a huge season of expectations that that's what Nebraska volleyball is. It is the tonic if you are having a bad day. Mm-hmm. Just watch them play. Watch the ladies play volleyball, and the way they can turn it on and off and crush like they did last night in the third and fourth set to win in 4 over Kentucky. They're like, okay, that's what I needed. Okay, I can go back to my regular life.
Yes. And that's exactly what I did. I went back to my regular life and watched Cleveland lose again after a lengthy delay. Because I was thinking about this, and it was brought up during the broadcast yesterday. By the way,
sucked.
The broadcast?
Yep.
Oh, okay. Well, I was going to say the atmosphere as far as what they do with music in between side outs and stuff. Like, it had kind of a cool vibe there. Like it was, you could tell.
Did you think that Jeff Brom was going to come out dressed in his XFL uniform because he was in Louisville?
Yeah, why not?
That's what it kind of seemed
like.
It
was, yes. It was. I liked it though. I got to admit, I thought it was cool to get the music in between, during a side out, then during substitutions. It had a nice atmosphere. That was the cool part about it. I was thinking about this though last year when, this would have been the day, it would have been that Wednesday before Nebraska kicked out the season, that it was volleyball day in Nebraska. And I think there's always that built up nerves for the football season of excitement, cautious optimism. But you're right. Then you watch a machine that is Nebraska volleyball, whether it was against Omaha last year, but that really was, I don't even remember exactly how Nebraska played other than they won in that one because it was the spectacle more than anything. But then yesterday, most of us are watching this on TV. For the people who made it, that's awesome. But most of us are watching this on TV, and you're watching, elite volleyball programs going head to head to essentially serve notice to the volleyball and college sports community of, hey, this is our sport. Look at how it's evolved and look how damn good all these teams are. And yet Nebraska's still right there at the top. That I think it does have that carryover effect for football of, all right, now I'm going into Wednesday. I got a little renewed. Again, not that people are going into this season for Nebraska football pessimistic. In fact, I think it's the exact opposite. But I think you get recharged when you see that. When you see success, it only makes you want more of it. And that's why I love that we had that yesterday with Nebraska volleyball. And then last year we had that, here in the state and that entire spectacle of Nebraska and the fact that they are that good could pull something off like that too.
It's I think the state motto, whether you're wearing blue, black, or red, or any other color, is like the season of expectations. And the expectations for Nebraska volleyball are through the friggin' roof.
Mm-hmm.
Roof. But they are a team, and especially the way they're built, where I think they'll have a star every different night. Like Rebecca Alec might not, the next time they go out there, might not be the star as good as she was last night. They got so much depth, and they're really good. I mean, they're number 2 in the country. They play for the national title for a reason. They are Nebraska volleyball. Yep. But it is a thing of a beauty when they are on a roll, and you can just feel them about to crush somebody. Now, it rides a little bit different when it's a fellow top 10 team like it was last night in Kentucky. Right. But they just bring so much joy. If you're having a bad day, just watch Nebraska volleyball. Because I was following on Twitter as well during the match, and it's just like everybody is teeing up.
Yep.
I mean, even it was tight in the fourth, and then they found a way. Now, I think for the first match out, wasn't bad. They were tight in some spots. I think the rotation was a little bit clunky, but God, they just banger after banger, whether they be in the back row where they had 9 different players in the back row last night, to one of the best, servers in Lexi Rodriguez. They have so many weapons. They're built to win a national championship. But I also love the fact you brought up the broadcast and what they did with it. And I wish ESPN would let their volleyball telecast breathe a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I like what they're doing because I think the sport benefits by coaches that aren't afraid to play big matches and showcase the sport. Nebraska is willing to do that. Kentucky, Louisville beat Wisconsin in 4. Nebraska and Louisville play later. Look at like Creighton. Creighton has a stretch where they play Where do they play? Nebraska, Louisville, Purdue, and KU. I think all 4 of those matches are on the road. So it's coaches in the sport that like to promote it, and they're not afraid to play these kind of matches. It's just it's a sport that does well, and I thought last night was good timing. It was on a Tuesday.
Yeah.
They had no conflict with football, and they could have it to themselves, and they got 4 great teams playing that showcased a great sport.
Yeah, 100%. And the other part about what I took away from last night, and I compared it to the Champions Classic in college basketball, where you're showcasing your sport, you're putting the best programs, or at least the most recognizable blue-blooded programs that you can have in the sport right now that have obviously had recent success, but are also, from a volleyball standpoint, the brand is important, none bigger than Nebraska, as we've talked about many times. I just thought the way that they fed off of, and this goes back to even what aired on Sunday about Nebraska's volleyball that we've talked about with No Place Like Nebraska. There was some reference before it started, but not a lot once everything took over. And I think that the way that it felt, I don't know about you, but it felt like, and I know ironically that's where the Final Four is going to be, it felt like that type of atmosphere already.
Yeah.
And I think when you're able,
they have over 9,000 people there.
Yeah.
Now the second match went a little long.
Yeah, right.
And I'm sure people were like, it's almost midnight in Louisville. I got to go home.
Well, it was a Tuesday, as you pointed out. But I think coming away from that event and playing who Nebraska played, I think obviously we would be very disappointed if they didn't win that. But to see a team out of the gate like that, yeah, I mean, I'm with the untrained eye, you're probably seeing things just like we would typically see in a first football game of, maybe some procedural things and whatnot. But it still goes to show you that product, I continue to, I'll talk about the atmosphere again for a moment of how their game ops and how this event wanted to present itself, whether you liked what you were hearing from the broadcasters or not, just how they wanted to do that. Because I'm assuming that you're going to see a lot of that at the Final Four, where it's got a little bit of that.
Will you?
I mean, that's true.
Will the NCAA allow that at their event to turn it into an XFL game?
I hope they do. I thought it was cool. I'd be curious what John Cook and the players thought too of, in and out of substitutions during a side out, you get just a little bit of music. It's kind of, it had more of a pro vibe to it.
It felt like a CBA game that I went to back in the day in Oklahoma City where they played nothing but music the entire game.
As someone's getting ready to line up in your hand.
Yeah. I mean, it's, hey, well,
I thought it was cool.
I like ideas.
I liked it.
I like creativity.
They had a defense chant in volleyball?
No, they didn't, but you get the idea. But just having the music, I liked it.
On the broadcast, I just wish ESPN would let it breathe. I don't think it benefits them having 3 voices.
Right.
And every time I see ESPN do volleyball, and we'll talk about, because that volleyball is back, and this is a volleyball state that has a lot of knowledgeable people that watch, because it always comes up about what is the proper way to present volleyball on TV of angles. What is the best angle?
Yeah.
It does every time I watch ESPN. I'm glad they are having matches on the mothership and then they put them on ABC. You are thankful that the group at Nebraska Public Media does such a great job in presenting volleyball.
They do.
Because they are behind the production of a lot of the Big Ten stuff, and especially everything that goes on down in the Devaney Center. So it makes me appreciate them. But volleyball was back. One, because collectively, people are like, crush them. John Cook, step on their throat. And while you're walking out of the arena, punch Kelly Sheffield in the throat.
Still got the face.
And then, my God, ESPN, stop showing the baseline cam.
Yes.
Now back to Kelly Sheffield. Wisconsin got beat last night in 4. Like Louisville and, the future head coach of the Nebraska volleyball program, who has done an incredible job in Louisville, beats Wisconsin. And later, next month, Nebraska and Louisville play. Which is going to be a banger. Creighton plays Louisville as well. But they beat Wisconsin, and Wisconsin's really good. They beat them in 4. They beat them in 4. But I'm not a huge fan of Kelly Sheffield because I think he's annoyed by Nebraska, which is perfect. But he's like the perfect guy because he's like the guy from Goonies that has
Sloth?
an attitude.
Oh, okay,
yes.
never mind.
And is really good at his job and has a great program, but isn't afraid to let his opinions be known. He's perfect for the Nebraska-Wisconsin volleyball rivalry. I mean, coaches make a rivalry, and John Cook gets under people's skin.
He's referred to Kelly Sheffield as sloth.
Yes. Doesn't he look like him?
Kind of.
Yeah.
I never really put that together, though. There was some type of distinct look, but that's kind of harsh when you're going with the rocky road.
He never looks. He's got an incredible program. He never looks like he's having a good time.
No. Okay, you're right there. Yeah,
like
you're right.
Hey, crack a smile.
Yeah,
maybe,
you're right.
Maybe give me a little Kendrick Lamar dance, something like that. Okay,
show the white guy.
But
moves.
he's great for the sport because he could be that. He could be that guy. That
you got to have one.
Likes.
Yeah, you got to have one.
Yeah.
And I think especially for Nebraska with that rivalry, and it would kind of suck if he was like a really good, and maybe he is, behind the scenes a really good dude. I don't know the type of person he is, but if he was
Nebraska
this
is
very
so and under his skin.
Oh yeah, well, okay, you mentioned,
and it's great.
He doesn't crack a smile,
probably because of what Nebraska does. He's kept his program at an elite level.
Well, remember when they beat Nebraska and Madison last year? He was whooping it up a little bit. That was the emotion. So you could tell a program that is going to get the best reaction out of him. But yeah, if he was this super fun guy on the bench too, and he was like, "Hey, yeah," people like that would kind of suck because you got to have some type of focal point.
Well, especially
there.
Since Russ Rose at Penn State retired, and we hated him around here. One, because he was very successful, and usually on his road to national championships, Nebraska would be in the way.
Yep.
But he was also like a guy that you would watch him and he would, complain or argue or whatever. And you're like, get out.
Well, we're getting a little bit of that with Texas last year in the national championship
game. Get on the porch,
too.
Retire, move on.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome in, everybody. Let me give you the lineup for the show as we are just 3 days away from the start of the season around here. A season of expectations with little to no drama. I don't know what we're going to do.
And your number 3 is?
Can I go with?
You can go with anyone.
Ooh, how about Tyrone Leggett?
Fair. I got Q Craver.
Okay. Q Craver. Okay, that's a good one.
Loved him.
No one's going with Taylor?
That's who I was going with.
Oh, okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nice.
No.
Oh, absolutely.
No, there's not. I think Taylor, like a fine wine, has aged.
Just think if Taylor came to Nebraska as a quarterback and they thought in 2009 that he was the right guy to be at quarterback. Just saying. We'll play the what-if game. The lineup brought to you by the referees at John Higgins Weather Guard. Scott Docterman, the good doc from The Athletic, who covers Iowa, will join us coming up at 8. Iowa's named their quarterback. Cade McNamara will be starting. And if I'm Kirk Ferentz, who cannot be in the house for the game on Saturday, you know what I do?
I don't know. What's a good place in Iowa City?
There's, as someone who had people that went to school there.
Yeah. Didn't you almost?
But like parents put a kibosh. They were like, no.
Not even to visit?
Well, to visit, no problem. Because back in the day, I was in a family of Iowa season ticket holders for football.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Back in the day. But that was a long time ago.
Used to wear aviators, white pants. And
Chuck Long and Ronnie Harmon haven't been at Iowa for a long time. But there's plenty of places. Iowa City's a good town.
Yes, it is.
It's a good town to spend time outside.
That's what everyone's told
inside. There's. If I would have gone there, so this was the reasoning when I wanted to go there, is parents said, well, you'll probably flunk out because you're going to party in the first year. And I said, so?
I mean, they knew you.
And then
that's my journey.
Then that's what it became. Well, you're not smart enough to get a scholarship for your academics.
Yeah.
You're going to pay for school on your own. I went,
Yeah.
Can I still live at home?
The reply should have been like, but I'm making friends. That's
you know
a good
what
thing.
Kirk should do? Kirk should just go from tailgate to tailgate.
There you go.
That's a great idea.
Endear yourself with the fans right there too. My goodness.
Just have a beverage, something to eat.
I mean, the tailgating scene in Iowa City is not bad.
Yeah.
Now it might be a little light when Nebraska plays there at night on Black Friday. I mean, it's not going to be a balmy 75 degrees.
But last time Nebraska beat Iowa City, it was in the 70s.
But if I'm Kirk, I would wander around the parking lots.
That's a great
I'd bring
idea.
a little security, and I would just go from tailgate to tailgate.
Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, and then how I would top it off to basically give a big Kirk Ferentz middle finger to the NCAA. You know, at the end of the first quarter, when everybody turns in the stadium and waves at the Children's Hospital, Kirk is up there.
In the hospital or in the stands?
No, he's in the hospital.
Okay.
In the hospital. He's waving back at the Iowa fans.
So this is perfect. He goes from tailgate to tailgate, and then he does some good Samaritan work at the hospital.
It would serve two fronts there.
Be awesome.
Think about that. It would serve two fronts. The kids would be so excited to see Kirk Ferentz. They would be. That would brighten their day.
I sold
That's
that.
what they should do.
While he's up there and he's mingling and he's spending some time with the sick children up there and the all of the hospital personnel, and then they wave that he's right there waving back.
And no coach's gear either.
You know they get that on TV too. It's like, well, I'm just technically I'm not
just
mistaken.
saying. I'm just saying.
Gold T-shirt says Iowa football.
So the good doc will join us coming up at 8. Jay Moore stops by at 9, the former black shirt. And then Marty Smith from ESPN will be in at 9:30. He's got an exciting project along with everything else that he does. That is the lineup brought to you by the rivalries at John Higgins Weather Guard.
This is a great idea. Turn a negative into a positive.
Later in the show, I have an amazing stat about Kirk Ferentz. But that's what he should do. So beginning at midnight Saturday night or Friday night or Saturday morning, however your head feels, he should get up early, walk the parking lots, and then when they turn and everybody looks up, he's waving back
smile
at them with the kids.
Yep, with
Yellow
the kids
T-shirt,
and a big smile.
Cargo shorts, Iowa football.
I mean, this is
with a big shirt that says punts.
Regular, even better.
How about he wears the Bosworth NCAA shirt?
I think Boz still has that. I remember the 30 for 30. He still had that in a storage locker.
You know what a legend Kirk would go overnight?
He'd lend it.
Huh?
His street cred would go through the roof.
I don't know him or his wife or anybody associated with him, but I think this would be a great little PR move.
I think it'd be hilarious. I mean, obviously that tradition is very special to Iowa fans, and it's a cool tradition. But Kirk Ferentz put himself right in the middle of that.
Make it happen, Iowa.
I really think that might put Kirk Ferentz's stock at an all-time high. I don't think
that's the point.
I don't think it would ever be better.
Everyone will remember him for that.
Wait. Scott Docterman has a great relationship with him. We'll pass that along, and maybe he can mention that at the next media availability before Saturday. All right. You're always welcome to join the conversation. We're 3 days away from the start of the season. The guy that graduated from the School of Quarterbacking spoke yesterday. His awareness to me is impressive.
Sounds like an adult.
Hey, is his hair changing, by the way?
It
looked like
That'd
it
be
was
a question for him.
It just looked like it was a little less Patrick Mahomes yesterday. And I know he probably just got out of either a shower or the little tub that they have to walk through or something, but it looked a little different. I don't know. Is he trying to shed a little bit of the Mahomes look? I'm just curious.
I guess I wasn't.
I just noticed. I'm like, oh.
I was listening to words.
Well, I was listening.
I got to look at him again.
I was trying to be a good listener by paying attention and looking at him.
His awareness is impressive. I mean, he's from the school of quarterbacking, and some might say he was developed in a lab. We'll see when it comes on Saturday. Plus, the guy behind him, his OC spoke. The OC might have gotten the biggest pass in the history of Nebraska football. I'll explain that a little bit later. You can always join the conversation on the 42 Degree The Source hotline, 402-951-1620, or email us into the Equitable Bank inbox, where they take banking seriously, personally, professionally, all of those things. Doug was busy yesterday, maybe firing off emails right and left. Learned a lot about him.
He's back.
He was very much he was a hellraiser in his younger days, is what I'm figuring out.
ZZ Top has a song about that.
Gary at 1620thezone.com.
Handley at 1620thezone.
Also on the JTech Construction Zone Twitter feed, where we'll do some Twittering today. I can't figure this out. Andrew tweeted at me, and he said, happy 20,000th birthday today. Well, he said, happy 20,000th day today. Happy birthday, #GBR. And so I tried to think, has it really been 20,000 days since Nebraska was in a bowl game? No, it's only been like 2,700. So I don't know what that means, Andrew. You're going to have to explain that to me. But thank you for the tweet before the show began. You can tweet at Nick and myself and the show at Gary Sharp 1620.
Yeah, Nick Handley 1620.
Also, Jimmy, the Twitter handle of the show is
Sharp and Handley.
Hey, speaking of Twitter or X, What the hell was going on with the whole December 3169 thing? Did you guys see that on your feed yesterday?
What about 69?
Well, it was just you would see somebody's
Nice.
account. It wouldn't have a tweet at all, but the date or when it was posted would show December 3169. And it kept happening all
Maybe you got
night.
hacked.
I would tweet that
I don't
I
know.
predict the Chiefs to beat the
Hey,
Vikings in the Super Bowl.
Hey, I'll give you some advice.
Even Nebraska Volleyball put that out.
I would give you some advice. Stay off of the For You tab.
54 years and 9
I haven't gone to the
months
For You
is
tab
20,000 days.
in several weeks.
I got good content today off the For You tab.
Yeah.
But you're probably I'm going to just give you some advice. You should probably stay off the For You tab.
Okay.
I'll take care of the For You tab for us.
Okay.
Because it's a dangerous place out there on that side of the Twitter.
This apply to TikTok as well?
Oh no, I'm all in on TikTok.
It's a dangerous place. Is it like a dark web?
Especially this time of the year.
Mm.
All right. Those are the ways to get in touch with the program on the conversation on this Wednesday morning. Let's sneak in Nebraska ball Mike because he's up early.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mike.
Good morning. I'm sorry it took so long. I refused to embarrass myself like I did last time. So,
what did you do last time?
I don't remember what you
forgot
did.
what you did last time.
I don't even remember Monday.
I had called you guys and not turned the computer down. And
Oh, that's right. You were
still in the
awful.
back.
It was terrible.
Oh.
It was brutal. It
Hey,
was like
we've-
your worst
That
call
was
ever.
bad.
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
done
it was.
that.
It was. But you know what? I have faith in
okay.
you that you are a comeback guy. You're also a very upfront guy. So I appreciate it. The floor is yours. What can we do for you?
First of all, are we sleeping on the fact that, like, Dominic Rail is probably talking to Dylan every day and walking him through some stuff? Are we sleeping on the fact that he's got another coach without actually being on campus?
I don't know. I mean, he's fortunate enough to have a dad that is who he is. I think. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're going here. I think that's important in this development of him as a quarterback and what he's about to navigate with the highs and lows of playing at a place like Nebraska where he came here for one reason. Yeah, no, I think that's an advantage.
I don't think he's a normal freshman. I really don't. Like, now, I don't like the fact that we have to walk into Deion Sanders again, but whatever. You know, we'll figure that out in 2 weeks. But, like, this is going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting.
Yes, it will be.
In a good way.
Well, I think we'll know about halfway through the season how good we are. It won't take that long, though.
So let me ask you something there, Mike.
Kind of Tim McCarver.
What game or games this year that Nebraska plays in and their result or how they play the game, you will go, yeah, Nebraska's finally different.
Well, I'm going to make you do something stupid. I don't have
That's
the
not the first
schedule
time
in
I've
front
heard
of me.
that before.
I don't have the schedule in front of me.
Okay, here we go. You ready?
Yes.
UTEP, Colorado, Northern Iowa, Illinois, on the road at Purdue, home for Rutgers, bye week, at Indiana, at Ohio State, UCLA, home, bye week, at USC, Wisconsin, home, at Iowa.
Sounds like
I'm
16-0
gonna
to
say
me.
something probably nobody's ever said. Well, yet. I don't know if they've said it, but here's the deal. I don't think we're going to know until we go out to California.
Okay.
I think UCLA is going to tell us a lot.
You mean
you
mean
USC? USC. UCLA's at home.
Well, you said UCLA.
Well, there's UCLA, and then there's a bye week, and then there's at USC.
I think UCLA is going to matter before USC matters.
Okay.
For us, I don't think I don't like that game, but I don't think the Big Ten or schools are going to tell us squat. I think that's just going to be growth and figuring out what we know and figuring out what we can do. If we go out to California and, you know, those surfer bums are figuring out what they're doing, Nebraska and UCLA have a history. So let's go and figure this out.
Yeah.
Surfer bumps?
Yeah, I don't think Wayne Cook will be able to perform against Nebraska's defense on that day.
Or Troy Aikman.
No. Anything else, Mike?
I have one piece of news. The rumor is that I'm getting a new chair around Christmas time.
That's the rumor, huh?
How about we change it from a rumor to reality? Is it happening?
Yeah.
So that should be fun. Other than that, I'm good.
All right. Okay. All right. You gonna go bowling? You gonna take your new chair? You gonna go to the beach in San Diego to watch Nebraska play in a bowl game?
All I want is not to see Trev Alberts in January. Would we get off of this narrative? He wanted to leave. Let him leave. Let him go. Would please people stop talking about this?
We talked about it until you brought it up.
It's catching a stray on the 28th of August. It'd been a while, Mike. Thank you.
You broke the
Thank
streak.
you. Mike, good to hear from you.
By the way,
Yeah, no.
Iowa
go ahead.
fan Caitlin Clark ain't going to save your ass. You still suck.
Oh, all right. Some
Can you
Iowa hate
hey,
already.
Can you
who
repeat?
sucks?
Can you repeat that again?
Caitlin Clark is not going to save Iowa fan this time. They don't matter anymore. They mattered when she was there. They don't matter now.
All right. What's your Twitter handle for people that would like to discuss this take?
I'm not afraid. It's Downtown Council.
Let's get at it. All right. Thank you, Mike.
All right.
All right.
See, today's going to be a good day.
Is he talking about women's basketball or football? I mean, I know he made the Caitlin Clark reference, so I'm assuming women's basketball. He just went right there.
There's a reason he lives in downtown Omaha, not across the river in Council Bluffs. People tried to move him to Council Bluffs, and he said, "Hell no, I'm staying."
And now you know why.
You don't mess with Mike.
Yeah.
All right, we got to take a break. That's the lineup. We got. We will talk some Iowa football coming up at 8, and more from last night. And something, man, she is really, really good at what she does. I'll let you all figure out who I'm talking about because I'll explain that a little bit later. And we also are a day away from Colorado. Are we rooting for Colorado or rooting for the Bison?
You got to root for the Bison.
Yeah, I mean, I am.
They play good football up there.
I would love that to be 1-0 versus 1-0, but I think we mentioned this on Friday or Monday that if you get towards the fourth quarter and North Dakota State's pushing and
you're putting green on.
Yeah, I think at some point you end up saying,
if
okay.
it is a close game in the fourth quarter, that tells me more about Colorado is in trouble.
True.
Because I don't know how North Dakota State plays with Colorado.
I would agree.
All right, 6:39, off and running. The whole gang is here for you on a Wednesday on 1620 The Zone.
1620 The Zone, celebrating the first Nebraska game of the year with the annual Red Out Week. You'll get the most comprehensive Husker coverage right here in the mornings, Connor Happer Show, and on Sportsmanlike Conduct. Don't miss the Red Out Week Roundtable lunch tomorrow at Oscar's at Lakeside Plaza. Red Out Week is brought to you by Union Bank and Trust. Get all of the details at 1620thezone.com.
All right, welcome back in. First hour off and rolling. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. We had Nebraska ball mic on.
Oh, I see what you did there.
Here is great first name. Great first name. This is Gary on the 42 Degree The Source Hotline. Good morning, Gary.
Good morning, sir. So we've gone from Lunchables to Dots to now Crustables.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm kind of addicted.
They're good.
All right, I'll remember that.
Strawberry, right?
Strawberry? Okay.
I'm just making sure.
All right. You made a comment earlier about your thoughts on thinking that Buzzboom is our next head coach.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm going to challenge that and say, don't we already have the person on the bench?
In Jalen Reyes?
Nope.
In
Mrs. Larson?
I would say no.
And your expertise.
Well, I'm not going to say expertise.
Okay.
I think Jordan has aspirations. Listen, John Cook. I've changed my opinion. I think John's going to be here for a lot longer than people think. I mean,
I agree with you.
I would have thought, okay, maybe he's got a year or two left. I think he's got a lot in the tank. So I think he's going to be here for a little bit longer. And there's going to be a lot of people that have aspirations to be the next volleyball coach at Nebraska. Not everybody will be built to handle the beast that is Nebraska volleyball. I'm not saying Jordan Larson is not, but I'm looking at Danny Busboom Kelly, who played in the program, was an assistant here, who knows the program and has gone to a place and built that program from the bottom to one of the elite programs. She would be number one on my list. Number two actually would be Jalen Reyes. As long as Jalen Reyes is in Nebraska's volleyball program, Nebraska volleyball isn't going to go anywhere. He is one of the best recruiters in the history of college volleyball. And then,
interesting.
And then Jordan. I just think she is such a legend in this state, Gary, that
too much pressure.
There might be.
Okay.
There might be. But she has aspirations, like many, to be the head coach at Nebraska. But I think she's found a sweet spot in her life. And what she's doing in the Nebraska volleyball program right now is ideal for her. And this may change. We might know. I'm saying this right now in 2024. 4 years down the road, it might change. But that's just my opinion right now.
And last but not least, how was your golf game this year?
Not bad. 102 rounds so far.
Wow.
Yeah.
Whoa.
So it's my goal. It's my goal every year to play at least 100 rounds of golf. But it's okay.
You're 102 to my 0.
Well.
Knee replacement issues.
Yeah, so, I know. We'll get you out there. You can come play with Nick and myself one day.
There you go.
I sure enjoy that. Thank you. Appreciate it, guys. Have a good year.
Thanks, Gary.
That is
102 rounds.
Man.
Yeah. Now that starts in January.
Nice.
How much did you play last week?
8.
That's
okay.
Good.
All right.
No wonder you're refreshed.
Okay.
No, I'm not saying that I'm not very good. I like to play.
Well, yeah. Most times when people ask me, "Hey, how'd you shoot today?" I said, "I golfed." That's what I did.
As long as I don't shoot my weight, I consider it a good day.
You had this look on your face, Nick, like you need to catch up.
Well, I'm chiming in at about 195 these days. Yeah, if I shot a 195, I'd be really, really upset with myself. Yeah.
2+ bills would not be good. I probably would have lost partners.
You would start quoting your son, who has the quote of the week.
His question though about the volleyball coach, and I know we've had conversations both on the air and off the air about where that would go. I don't know how you could start anywhere but Danny Busboom. Danny Busboom Kelly. And what she's doing right now, I think, is what brings that all together. It's one thing to have intimate knowledge of the program as both a player and assistant coach who worked with John Cook, but then you go off on your own. You have the type of team that she has built, the program that she has built. You see that come to a head last night against a very good volleyball program in its own right in Wisconsin. So then there's that part of the resume that I think is a major, major box being checked right there. If she's not number one on that list, if for some reason John Cook just said, you know what, an epiphany when I woke up, I don't know what you would be doing.
It would be her job to turn down.
Right. I can't imagine.
And this is, I don't have an insight here, but this is probably an idea that, of when it's time, what the transition looks like. But there should be only one person that gets to decide who is the next volleyball coach at Nebraska, and that's the guy that is currently the volleyball coach. And you have to have knowledge because it is a beast. It is an absolute beast that you must continue to feed and feed and feed and feed, and you have to have knowledge of how to feed it.
Yeah.
And so whether being a player or an assistant coach or competing against it, intimately about Nebraska and what she's done at Louisville. I mean, they were impressive last night. Nebraska-Louisville is going to be a banger next month. And then, we could be in the Final Four and they'd be right in their hometown. But what she has done is she learned here and then she took the ingredients of the blueprint of Nebraska volleyball and went to an entirely new place where they didn't know what volleyball really was. And she has turned Louisville into Nebraska.
Yeah.
Look at
they even their uniforms look like
they
it.
become a big program where they have moved some of their high profile matches to the Yum Center in downtown Louisville.
Yep.
She has elevated that program. So she's got a Nebraska type volleyball program in the ACC.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And so, you brought up something that I think is interesting. And I think some people would say, yeah, I agree, but maybe don't know where it's coming from. As far as John Cook and his future, where I think, remember last year, right before the volleyball day in Nebraska conversation, we were all wondering, hey, is this sort of that major event that takes place as part of, the end being near for the career of John Cook, because, he's been doing it for so long and has been so good at it that at some point he's thinking about it. The recruiting classes that he's had, the fun that it looks like he is having right now, I think would also lead a little bit into what you're saying as far as sticking around maybe a little bit longer than what we maybe talked about a year or two ago. But I'm also curious it's interesting with the way that college athletics has changed with NIL and everything that is new. A lot of coaches that have been in it that long seem to be a little bit more hesitant or resistant to it. It almost, and this is where I'm asking you, because I think you know this better than I do. Is John Cook more embracing of it because he sees how it can really help out volleyball? And I think he feels as a steward of
interesting question.
As a steward of the sport itself, not just Nebraska, that he wants to be a part of that. Because I think a lot of it is what is going on in Nebraska, but I think there's part of the game too that.
It's good to be the head coach at Nebraska. It's good to be a player in the Nebraska program. I don't know that the head coach at Nebraska is fully comfortable with everything that you have to do to continue at that level.
Okay.
Because I think he's one of those old school guys who, in the recruiting process, likes the relationships, likes the retention, knows that he has to play the portal game, and has, he has a brand to play the portal game and do it well.
Yeah, that's true.
I don't know. The one thing I always appreciate about John is John has adjusted throughout his entire coaching life, whether it be loosening up, where he let a program become more player-led that led to a national championship that really changed his life and his trajectory and just the way he looks at things. And now adjusting to the new day where you're still Nebraska, but you've got to play the game.
Yeah.
And you happen to have an advantage of being Nebraska.
Right.
So, I don't know that he's super comfortable. He's an advocate for the sport and trying to do right in the recruiting world on calendars and all of that kind of stuff. I don't know. I think he's a great ambassador. I'll be curious when it's finally over at Nebraska and he decides to, go out to Wyoming and join his wife and be a grandpa out there. Like what does he do next?
Right.
Because
there is that too.
Because people will mention, and I don't know that he's ever had an I don't want to say ever, about the Olympic coach. Hugh McCutcheon when he was at Minnesota. He was I don't know if John would be interested in that, but he'd be somebody that I think because of his skill set and the way he looks at things would be very successful. But he might want to have his last rodeo, so to speak, is an incredible legacy as the head volleyball coach at Nebraska, and just as a Nebraska coach, period.
Yeah,
Wow, we've gone deep on this, and it's only one match.
Well,
holy cow! Wait till they play Louisville.
It was just
wait till they
interesting.
play Creighton, which is going to be a hell of a banger of a match, by the way.
Well, as you told Gary about, you said you sort of changed your tune on the length that you think he will be at Nebraska and continue down that path. It does. It's a little different than what you hear with a lot of football coaches that have been in it that long that have seen the changes. But I think you bring up something that actually probably, whether you fully embrace NIL or you just put up with it because you have to, you bring up the point, though, of this is why we don't talk about this with football right now, because Nebraska is not that type of football program that always is going to, because of their brand, because of what they can do to get guys in the NFL, are when it's transfer time and people are looking at a program, they're not necessarily looking at Nebraska football first and foremost yet, because there's not that on-field success. There's not that pipeline to the NFL. Everything that I think a volleyball player wants to get out of college volleyball, from a national championship to a chance to play internationally to a chance to represent your country, Nebraska offers that. So volleyball, unlike football, is essentially the Alabama when it comes to when you have a person in the transfer portal, and the NIL is strong as well. I don't know why you would look, unless Nebraska doesn't see it as a fit. I don't know why Nebraska wouldn't be the most attractive volleyball program, which is a lot different than what football is. They got a lot more competition when it comes to that, and maybe that's also a source of comfort for John Cook. Of, hey, I'm not a huge NIL guy or transfer portal guy, but I'd be lying if I said it didn't benefit us.
I will say this, and just watching John. And it's not just a Nebraska volleyball thing, but think about coaches of sports, male or female, that are at the top of they're number one in the country, number two. How many coaches can you go through? Like, look at Kirby Smart. Look at Ryan Day.
Mm-hmm.
How many coaches can you look at that have an elite program that when you see them, they look like they're having fun? Like, that's where John's made the transition, in my opinion.
Yeah.
John Cook is having fun. Like, you would think there's so much weight on the expectations that you would look your age and you would feel your age. And instead, he's just having fun.
Yeah, maybe Dan Lanning's on the cusp of that.
But you can see how it burns people. I mean, look at Saban.
Yep.
I mean, it just grinds on you.
It'll age you.
Look at Nebraska football coaches around here. Look at when they first, seriously, we do this with President Obama. Remember when President Obama, his inauguration, his first term, and then by the time he left the White House, he had aged, and everybody's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Nebraska football, go and do this side by side, coach at their opening press conference to one of their last pictures. I mean, it'll age you. He seems like somebody with an elite program.
Look at Scott.
That is Benjamin Button.
Yeah, he's aging in reverse.
That doesn't happen. That doesn't happen in major college athletics with elite programs. Yeah, and it's nice. It's refreshing to see coaches that are still having fun, because there are so many elements of the coaching aspect these days at that level that probably are not fun.
Right, and winning is fun.
And also the ability to compartmentalize.
Yeah.
Compartmentalize.
The big words today.
I think you had it right away.
Yeah.
Did I?
Yeah. I think you let that part out, but you didn't have confidence in it. But you actually
take
pulled
your
it
10-6 win.
Yeah, you pulled it off. Good job.
Yeah. All right, we got to take a break. Jimmy's got an update coming up next. We'll talk some Nebraska football coming back because where was the drama yesterday? Not Johnny. Where was the drama in Lincoln yesterday? I miss it.
Do you?
Yes.
Do you?
Yesterday was supposed to be a drama day. God dang it.
Come on.
What
are you going to do Saturday when they
win?
Why
are we not playing games? And I'm not talking about on the field. Why are we not playing games? We want drama. We live off drama. We're not going to know what to do around Nebraska football when there's not drama and there's high expectations. There was supposed to be drama yesterday. There was no drama.
Starting to itch.
Why wasn't there any drama? We'll get into that after Jimmy's updates coming up next on 1620 The Zone.
Tricked me again. Was expecting the liner that never played. That was
It's like the show that never ends.
Yeah, it was intentional though, or the song that never ends.
The show and the song that never ends.
Oh, somebody, if that gets stuck in someone's head, we have succeeded today. Shout out Lamb Chop. Nebraska Volleyball opens the season with a 3-1 win over Kentucky in the AVCA First Serve Showcase at the Yum Center in Louisville. They posted 18 blocks, their most since 2018. I see what they did there. They held Kentucky to a 139 hitting percentage. I don't understand volleyball that much, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say that's not very good. So that was great defense. Rebecca Alec, I know her. She led the charge with 11 kills and 12 blocks, and she hit 667. Merritt Bison finished with 11 kills, 8 digs, and 6 blocks. Andy Jackson tallied 10 kills and hit 412 with 5 blocks. Wow, they really kicked their ass. Anyway, they hit 258 for the match. Bergen Riley dished out 39 assists and 11 digs, and Lexi Rodriguez had 15 digs. Alec was named best middle blocker and MVP of the First Serve Showcase. Riley was named best setter. They pick up right where they left off. The Storm Chasers fall to
They had
sing.
an all classic team.
The whole team.
They played 4 teams played one match.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, they should. I think this is going to be on the reg.
Yeah, it should be.
Can you imagine Nebraska and Creighton playing downtown and hosting 17K? No
I
doubt.
love that. It was hard not to watch that last night and think about that event as eventually being at CHI Health Center if they're going to rotate this around, especially if this is a situation where they're doing this at the future side of the Final Four that you would have it in Omaha. And by the way, on the music thing, we did see that apparently John Cook said in his podcast that they are going to have music in between points and rotations this year too. So
people are upset about
we're starting to get a little.
Yeah.
I liked it.
So you're saying that D. Wayne will be at the Devaney Center?
He's got a little bit more on his plate, apparently.
He said D. Wayne. I thought I meant D. Wayne Lucas. Anyway, most people are like, who's that? Older people, though. Storm Chasers fall to St. Paul 8-2. They play again tonight at 6:35. Sad news here. Among the most notable former Nebraska players waived yesterday was the Zone's Adrian Martinez. Our coworker, the UFL MVP, failed to make the Jets' 53-man roster. Thus, we hope the Jets lose all their games and Aaron Rodgers tears both Achilles and they suffer. Oh, I mean, Tyrod Taylor will be the other quarterback to make the cut. Aaron Rodgers made the team. How about that? Former FSU rookie quarterback Jordan Travis was placed on the reserve non-football injury list, will likely serve as third quarterback on New York's roster once healthy. Wait, so he's hurt and he made it. Anyway, whatever. F him. Martinez threw for 270 passing yards in the preseason, 1 interception and no touchdowns. Better numbers than Trey Lance had over the weekend. Just saying. Baseball. It's August 28th. And your Kansas City Royals, I'm talking to you, Connor Happer, are in first place. That's after they went 6-1 last night in Cleveland in a game delayed more than 2 hours by rain. Nick wishes it had just kept raining forever there. The Royals, who lost 106 games last season, improved to a league best 23-13 since the All-Star break when they trailed the Guardians by 7 games. Cleveland has led the division since April 14th, 154 days before dropping the first 3 games in the series, which concludes today at 12:10. The Guardians have lost 9 of 12 and are just 17-21 since the break. And if you've been listening this summer, Nick called this. He is Mr. Cleo.
Yeah,
he
said
it's over.
They're hitting 212
months
since
ago.
the break too.
Mm-hmm.
I got an alert.
That good?
I got an alert on my
Awesome.
phone after the Royals won.
Connor texted.
Yeah.
Hey, the
He should
Royals
just
were
live it
end
up.
of May were 10 games back.
Yes, they were.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
They're going to be in the playoffs.
So I said
regardless.
Yeah,
Cleveland got their eviction notice last
start
night.
printing the playoff tickets at the K.
I mean, I would get homesick, except after experiencing 14 and 15 down there. Hey, it's time for a new generation to experience that.
And I'm telling you, this is not normal. Oh, you're being overly critical as we all are on our teams that are playing like crap right now. No, this was a legitimate concern of the way Cleveland was built.
You're very consistent.
It's amazing. 2 pitchers right now that could be all the difference for Cleveland in trying to hold on to that lead with Shane Bieber and a good, effective Tristan McKenzie. I'm sorry, Boyd and some of the other piecemeal that they're trying to do with that staff. It's not going to be good in the long haul because of what they're doing to that bullpen.
Yeah.
This was a big concern of mine. This
Well,
wasn't like,
you said
our
it.
concern,
You said
dude.
about your offense. I mean, their last 2 months are hitting 223 combined.
Yeah.
That good.
But the Royals are
worse than that since the break.
Royals are 75-58. They lost 106 games last year.
Mm-hmm.
And you look at their lineup and the rotation, and who's in it outside of Bob and Salvi.
Yeah, I mean,
like
there's no Johnny
and
Cueto.
you can do the same thing with Cleveland and go, how are they? Yeah. So you've got your AL Manager of the Year, and he's in the dugout in Kansas City. I know that Cleveland may still win the division. They're currently tied. They
You did
play
predict
today,
wild card.
but you lost 106 games last year in your first year as the manager.
Yes.
They may win 90 games this year.
He's a regular Howlin'
Yep. Stephen Vogt was Stephen. It's kind of funny when you think of AL Manager of the Year candidates. Probably both reside in the American League Central right there too with Stephen Vogt.
It's funny you said Stephen Vogt, and right away I was like, "You're talking about the A's?"
Well, and you would have thought also in that division that the Royals would be the team that might drift off.
Yeah.
And it's the Guardians, but the Twins are in a little bit of a free fall as well. Got beat last night in extra innings by Atlanta.
A win today for the Royals puts them in sole possession of first place, and you will see blue smoke bellow from the top of this building. We'll see. Some other wholesome baseball news. Rich Hill is back in the majors. Yes, that Rich Hill, nearly 2 decades. I remember when he made his debut, and more than a dozen teams since he made his big league debut. He's 44. That's older than me. Wow, and he's playing baseball.
That's younger than me.
And I'm just back hurts just because I sat weird.
Okay, add him to the list of people that I thought were older than me that aren't. Rich Hill, and I always thought Matt Kuchar was older than me. Matt Kuchar's not older than me. Thought he was.
No, Bill Snyder is. There's at least still that.
I guess
one outing in 2024 would make him the only active player to appear in a game in each of the past 20 seasons. So we're rooting for him. He was born in Boston. That means absolutely nothing. He's 90-73 with a 4.01 ERA in 382 career games, including 248 starts. He also pitched for the Red Sox from 2010 to 12, and then again from 15 and in 2022. He spent last season with Josh's Pittsburgh Pirates and your San Diego Padres. Hill made his big league debut with the Cubs in 2005. He also pitched for Baltimore, Cleveland, Oakland, the Angels, Yankees, Dodgers, Twins, Rays, and Mets. If you haven't signed Rich Hill, what are you doing? Come on. I want at this point with the Astros to sign him. Use quality people. Finally, because we like to end positively, because as being the beacon of light and positivity of this show, here it is. Finally, the hits keep coming for the Chicago White Sox. A woman who was shot in the leg during a White Sox game last year. Wonder if those 2 dudes that ran onto the field over 20 years ago were involved. Anyway, she's suing the team and the Illinois agency that owns the new Comiskey Park, better known as Guaranteed Rate Field. The woman was in the left field bleachers in section 161, you're scoring at home, when she was shot during the 4th inning of the game against, of course, the Oakland A's on August 25th, 2023. Not only did this lady go watch the White Sox and A's, in which she had to have been forced there at gunpoint to go to that game. She was 42 years old at the time. A 26-year-old woman sitting in the same section suffered a graze wound to her abdomen. Again, this doesn't matter how old they were. The point is, she went to watch the White Sox and the A's play, enjoying America's pastime, and she got shot. This would not happen in Montreal. Montreal does not have a baseball team. Discuss.
Well, the good thing for the White Sox last night, they could not lose.
They didn't play.
They got rained out. So they play a doubleheader against the Rangers.
They can't even beat Mother
Do you think
Nature.
they've ever said that in the clubhouse this year? Man, we can't lose. No.
Oh, I thought you were going to say, I wish we got shot.
So basically, they were like all the other teams in college football that did not play week 0. They're like, whew, week 0 didn't get us this year.
That's right.
Hey, I used to say that every year.
By the way, I think week
One
0
team that resides in Lincoln was saying that.
I think down the road, week 0 will become more popular.
I agree.
I think they will spread out the college football season.
Kickoff classic. Bring it back.
Having a double bye. I think will be like a lot of coaches will get behind having a double bye, even if it means starting on week 0.
Well, yeah, because you get to start camp a little bit early anyway.
Man, the one unknown about this, the playoff run, you're playing a lot of football. A lot of football.
16,
so you're playing
games.
a lot of football, and you're shrinking your roster.
Well, yeah, exactly. And think about the benefit of that double bye compared to, okay, well, if you're going to start in week 0 as opposed to week 1, yet if you're a week 1 participant on, you get 1, week 0, 2, you only really start your fall camp. I don't even know if it's a full week earlier than most. I think it's only like 3 days earlier.
I also think TV will be like, you know what? Let's move some of the marquee matchups to week 0.
You mean Montana State, New Mexico didn't do it for this country?
Plus
I loved it.
Plus, you get a couple of week head start on the NFL.
Well, yes,
because the NFL was going to want to play.
Yeah,
I mean,
you're right.
NFL
30 game schedule.
Loving them some Friday. They've already got on your Thursday. I don't think they'll touch Saturday. But
COVID showed us what days they can play.
I mean, you're competing against the NFL.
I think you're always going to have if the Aer Lingus Classic is going to continue to be a thing, a decade from now, always having that to kick off your day and then to have a primetime matchup in week 0 probably makes sense too, to bookend the days with something that's at least interesting, because there's going to be years that the Aer Lingus Classic is not going to pit the most attractive matchups, but they're going to be Power 4 teams. So you're going to watch that. And then if you can get a Power 4 matchup, even, the year that it was Nebraska, Illinois,
I was told if there's ever rooting interest in a game at the Aer Lingus that we're going, so I guess we're going. I said, well, that was there 2 years ago, but we had just moved here.
You guys are in for Kansas State or Iowa State next year?
Root for Kansas State.
That's weird. They moved Farmageddon over to Ireland.
That is weird.
But they farmed in Ireland.
Like Kansas State and like
why
Oklahoma State.
Why are we starting our precious sport here in America on foreign soil?
That's right.
Foreign policy.
That's a damn good statement right there.
We do need
Question,
sports. We need plenty of sports because yesterday was a very interesting day on a non-football day as we lead into the season that begins in earnest tomorrow. We have 96 FBS games beginning on Thursday.
I told you Thursday's my favorite day.
I'm going to start crying, man.
Whether you were avoiding your For You tab on your Twitter or you were on the following tab, there are 2 stories out there that I think can be blamed on corn sweat.
Yeah, I want to hear about this.
Corn sweat?
Yeah.
It's not the same as meat sweats.
No. But one of this time of the year and the heat that we've had due to corn sweat.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, I know what you're talking about now.
I think because of the corn sweat in the Midwest, and we're different in the Midwest, and we're okay with it. All right?
We embrace it.
Like my friend Kendrick Lamar says, not like one of us. Y'all don't understand us here in the Midwest. That when we have corn sweats, we do odd things and our animals act differently. So 2 of the bigger stories yesterday that were going on in this country of ours that we love is we're based right in Sioux Falls, South Dakota and Des Moines, Iowa. Do what you will with that. Both very similar communities. People that have 2.5 kids, a white picket fence, and a good portfolio, and probably work at a credit card company or an insurance company. In Sioux Falls, an ostrich got loose yesterday.
That poor half kid, though.
Now this is the stuff I want to hear.
So an ostrich briefly escaped its owner and was strolling the street. So the world's largest bird was out and about in Sioux Falls.
And they can run up to, 35 miles an hour?
This is like that lemur that sells insurance.
Do you know that little story?
Lemur?
Ostriches in Nebraska are very popular.
Really?
Yeah, to breed them.
Really?
There used to be a rather large ostrich breeding farm just outside of Gretna because you could sell.
No kidding.
Yeah, you could sell the eggs, other things. Yeah.
Wow.
I guess it's.
Do they have
I guess
buffalo
you can
there?
you can make money off ostriches.
Is it anywhere near Lost Rail?
No.
Seriously, in Gretna?
Yeah.
Does this still happen?
I don't know. It was off Highway 6.
Okay.
I'll look it up because I'm in the search of something that I'm trying to get.
Oh, that is true, yeah.
So in Sioux Falls, they have ostriches that were on the loose. Now, this ostrich, it's a lone ostrich. It was not a team of ostriches that were fighting back against society. Was only wandering in the middle of a busy street for just a little bit. But what is going on in Des Moines is something of concern. It is not in the part of Des Moines that I grew up in. It's actually in Pleasant Hill, which is near Prairie Meadows, for example, like out that way.
Okay.
We don't even, us Urbandalers and West Des Moiners and Waukeers and Johnstoners, we don't even acknowledge that side of Des Moines.
Waukee's fancy.
So,
Not bad.
But you guys are going to have to explain this to me because I would think that this is an indictment of the authorities in Des Moines. There is an aggressive water buffalo that has been on the loose for a few days in Des Moines. Since Saturday, there has been a water buffalo that has been wandering around Pleasant Hill. Now,
wow,
I
have questions.
I'm no Henry Dorley Zoo expert, but I would think that a water buffalo would be easy to find.
I would agree. It's
Like
very hard to go incognito.
Where would a water now?
We would get its email here.
When I heard this, I thought, "Oh my God, it's the Fred Flintstone show." But where would a water buffalo in Pleasant Hill, Iowa, suburb of Des Moines, go to hide? But it's aggressive.
Cracker
It
Barrel?
apparently is like coming up to doors. It's getting on the Ring
Doorbell
doorbell
camera.
camera.
That's the beauty of all
and
these
then
things.
it wanders away.
Yeah.
It's like Jehovah's Witnesses.
But they can't find it. It's been on the loose since Saturday.
Do I just chalk this up to laziness? I feel like this is lazy because or is it because you don't know necessarily what to do with it?
Are we sure it's even still in Des Moines? Has it made its way to Ames?
No, there's a Facebook page. They have named it Hank. It is wandering around
I'm
this
looking
area of Des Moines.
I'm looking at Hank.
Following it
right now.
Friending Hank.
Hank almost looks more like a cow than a buffalo, by the way.
No need to insult him.
I'm just saying he kind of does. Okay, so the one thing that I saw was, but it is athletic. So I was watching. There was a cop had body.
A water buffalo is athletic.
It's very athletic. It just
it is running a 4.340.
Yeah. Oh, you should have saw it.
Was pretty athletic.
It hurdled a chain link fence because there's police body cam footage on when they were trying to pursue it.
If Marcus Satterfield was discussing this story, would he go, we'd put the water buffalo on the field with Dylan a lot?
Yeah. Is Heinrich Harburg a water buffalo?
Oh, this is awesome.
Oh, that'll go over well on Twitter. Good luck, Nick.
No. So, okay, I saw the image of it hopping a chain link fence. There was police pursuit. It was in a bank drive-through. And yet, okay, I'm literally like watching police body cam footage right now.
Do you think you make a grade 3 technique?
And how has now this is an attempt to get the animal. So I'm assuming they have like non-lethal tranquilizers, right?
Yeah.
Why? I'm literally there. It's within range. I'm watching this right now as we're talking, and they still haven't gotten this thing. Attempt to corral it.
I look forward to him being named mayor of Des Moines one day.
It is elusive, though. I'll give it that. But it's not. It never goes after the officer or officers, but leaping the chain link fence was pretty impressive. So yes, I'm going to go ahead and say that the water buffalo is a superior athlete, and that is my answer of why it hasn't been caught. Not because it can hide, because we know that's not the case, because it is just a better athlete than anything that's trying to rescue it.
If you really want to get the water buffalo under control so it does not harm people, you got to get in touch with Frank from Old School. I mean, he's got good aim with the tranquilizer, right?
Yeah, got it right in the jugular. Yes.
All right. When we
got a dart in your neck.
But he got jokes. We need a football in the worst way around here. And we'll see you tomorrow at Oscars over the lunch hour. All right. When we come back, there was no drama in Lincoln yesterday as the black shirts were handed out.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean more? Were you more intrigued by the single digit numbers or the black shirts? A tradition that has lived for a while that we played games with, or the other one that was brought here for 2 years that I think we talk about more.
Yep.
We'll dive into that when we come back. Dan. Oh, wait a minute. Dan's got water buffalo knowledge?
Absolutely.
We need water buffalo knowledge
here.
here.
Greatest listening audience in America. Good morning, Dan.
Good morning.
Now, can I ask for some background? You do know about water buffaloes?
I know enough to know.
Okay. That's fine. Are you in the business?
No.
Okay. All right. What do you think's happening over in Des Moines?
Yeah.
Why can't we catch this water buffalo named Hank?
Don't question how athletic something like that is. They have to dodge like Nile crocodiles, stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, I ain't questioning. After I saw it hop a chain link fence like it was nothing, like, yeah, it's in my starting lineup.
Plenty of predators they got to run.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is that it? All right.
So he's validating my point that it's athletic because of the amount of predators that it avoids. And a 3-3-5 defense.
Do we have water buffaloes in Nebraska? I don't know that I've ever heard of water buffaloes in Nebraska.
There is a band called Hank the Buffalo based out of Pennsylvania.
Are they cool with
they have nothing
Iowa
to do with this,
claiming
but they need to get on board with Hank.
I honestly didn't really know what a water buffalo looked like until I saw this story. I just assumed it was
buffalo,
a different.
It's wet.
It looks kind of, again, it looks a little bit more cow-like.
Does it, in the story you were reading there, does it say where it wandered away from? Or maybe it has wandered into Iowa?
So I was watching body cam footage of it. It was in one of the suburbs of Des Moines. I didn't see what it was, but it was it was in a bank drive-through.
Nice.
And they had one police SUV that was trying to cut it off, and then another police officer had his body cam rolling, and he was pursuing it, and it just kept getting away from them. So I don't know if he was not within accurate range to dispose said lethal.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but it all of a sudden it just kind of took off. But it wasn't like it's lightning fast or anything, and yet it wasn't charging at them.
I mean, they're warning people to stay away from it because it is aggressive, and I wonder if it's injured.
Maybe, yeah, it wasn't moving. It wasn't moving all that fast. So I'm very surprised if at 7:27 that this thing still hasn't been corralled to the point that it's been captured.
Who would have thought that a water buffalo was moving faster than the Iowa offense of 2023?
And there it is.
All right, we'll talk.
Go, Hank.
We'll talk defense when we come back. We'll actually talk to Scott Docterman, who covers Iowa for The Athletic, the good doc, coming up at 8 on 1620 The Zone. All right, you've heard us talking about FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We're all customers. We play the games. We'll be playing some games. Boy, my card for this weekend is huge. I want to cut down on it. I'm like 30 games I really, really like. Well, you will like this from FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We have something different for you. Now through September 22nd, all FanDuel customers, you can bet $5 and get a 3-week free trial of NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube or YouTube TV.
That's right. And you just get the YouTube base plan. You'll be able to watch every regular season Sunday afternoon out-of-market game. Some of those randos, maybe a Jaguars-Dolphins game for you Nick Grimm fans, Colts-Texans. You name it, you can watch any of them. Doesn't matter. All you need is a Google account and a current form of payment, and you can cancel anytime. Visit FanDuel.com. Use the promo code ZONE. That's FanDuel.com/zone to download America's #1 sports book. 21 plus and present in Iowa. Full price of NFL Sunday Ticket will be automatically charged seasonally after free trial. No refunds. Teams, restrictions, and embargoes apply. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-BETS-OFF. And join the VIP club and sign up for 1620 The Email. You'll be the first to know all the exciting content that's happening on 1620 The Zone, including where you can find us tomorrow. Hint, Oscars out at Lakeside, including sports, news, contest, promotions, and more. Sign up today at 1620thezone.com.
All right, email here from Iowa JD. My grandfather was a butcher. He owned a butcher shop in George, Iowa. As he writes into the Equitable Bank inbox, he used to let the cows out of the pen and shoot them on the kill floor. One day, the cow pulled a fast one and pulled his head at the last minute, and the shot missed. The cow tore through the kill floor, through the wall, and into the streets of George, Iowa. Cow went on a rampage, ramming cars and buildings. He ran into the street, shooting it. Finally, cops helped him take it down. That was the 80s gun battles in the streets of George, Iowa. Most likely didn't even faze the community.
Sounds a lot like home to me.
Water buffalo, by the way, can run up to 30 miles an hour.
Oh, snap. Okay.
Recruit him.
So I am talking to my friend who is also a vet. He brought up the point. He said, if you tranquilize a water buffalo that's 1,000 pounds, 1,000 plus pounds, then you have to figure out how to carry / lift it where it drops. So I asked, my follow-up was, okay, then what is our most likely strategy? Would it be to lead it into some type of stable? He said, yeah, and with Hank having following now, if something went sideways with the drug dosing and he died or got injured, it would only make for bad press.
So we're all rooting for Hank, who would be an absolute great fullback.
Hank might already have an Insta account.
I know he has a Facebook page.
Yeah. It all starts with Facebook, but then once you've really hit the peak of popularity, you're either on X and or Instagram.
Or TikTok.
That just shows you how long he's been active right now.
We just have cougars in Omaha.
They have mountain lions every now and then.
Well, we talked about that
Cougars
yesterday.
in Omaha, water buffalo in suburban.
Oh, we've got cougars. There's certain places you can find cougars.
What did we have last summer? A mountain lion or something like that?
Oh, yeah, we get mountain lions.
Do not bury the lead. Where
well, back in the day, you used to be able to go to Arthur's. Then there was a place called Prestige where you could find cougars. I'm sorry, you're talking about the four-legged.
We're not still talking
you're
about
talking
the
about
animal, right?
Oh, you're talking about the four-legged creature? Oh, never mind.
Talking about Mrs. Robinson.
It's a New Year's resolution I have to be more mature. So I'm not sure what you're talking
It's
about.
not New Year's yet.
Well, you can always look ahead.
Good for you.
I got to figure out what bowl game I'm going to.
That's what I was just going to say.
Hey, I got to keep it to sports.
I love it.
Why isn't there any angst for black shirts anymore? What were there? Were 6 two-time black shirts on this current era. They got black shirts yesterday. 11 starters plus 1.
Mm-hmm. Cam Leonard.
Does anybody out there miss the angst of the black shirt and the way it is given out, that the drama that went into it, that all of a sudden we have less angst around here about alternate uniforms and black shirts? Because I'm here to tell you, we had a stretch where it was a pain in the butt on how this was discussed.
Yep.
Because it is very prideful to be one, and one of them is going to join us coming up at 9:00 in Jay Moore. Us NARPs don't understand what that means to be a black shirt.
Right.
But we understand the pain of those guys when this tradition is like just screwed up.
Yeah.
And there's no angst. I don't know what we're going to do. There is less drama. There is less angst for a tradition which is centric to Nebraska that yesterday kind of went and came.
Yeah.
We announced who they were. Okay, now we're on to the next thing. Is it bigger to the fan base in terms of interest on the single-digit numbers over the black shirts? And the single-digit numbers have only been here for 2 years. The black shirts have been here for a long time.
I think it has. I think the single-digit with this given coaching staff, the way that it is discussed, and it being a lot more familiar with this coaching staff, and Matt Rule more in general, about bringing this tradition over. And I do wonder, because we also know Matt Rule and Tony White to be guys that really appreciate, and I think it's genuine, really do appreciate the history that Nebraska has been built on, especially the black shirt tradition, that if we were to tell either one of them that, hey, it sounds like the single-digit tradition is actually getting a lot more conversation or a little bit more anticipation than the black shirts anymore, want to say they would regret that, but I think that they'd be like, oh, let's see if we can talk more about the black shirt, because I don't think they wanted to do anything. They, or Matt Rule, wanted to do anything to make that seem less significant from a public standpoint. But I do think naturally we were more curious on who's getting the single digits than the black shirts.
Was there, I didn't notice in the past, Nebraska's social media team has done a really good job of when they hand them out, and it might be former black shirts that hand them out to current black shirts.
Yeah.
Or they film a player going into the locker room and they see it in their locker and the emotion that it is.
Yep.
Was there any of that stuff yesterday?
No.
Or are they saving it for Chasing 3? But I did not see like a big, but
I think you just answered that question right there.
Where I say that the single-digit number might be of greater interest than the black shirt is because we were all anticipating it. We had more discussion about the single-digit number in camp than we did the black shirt, which is completely opposite because we used to spend days and just...
it was during Big Ten Media Days we'd ask about it.
Yeah. We didn't really discuss this. I don't know if it's because of the head man and you have less angst and you don't play games with the tradition.
Mm-hmm.
But I got more interest in a single-digit lineup of players than I do of 12 guys wearing a black shirt.
I do too.
I think that's probably a credit to the guy that's in charge that, again, doesn't play games. There have been coaches that understand the tradition, but they don't want to embrace it because I think you have to be a college football traditionalist to understand how important that is and not to screw with it and don't play games.
Mm-hmm.
That the head man is like, less angst. This is how we're going to do it. We're not going to, one guy's going to get it and 11 guys are going to have to earn it or whatever they did. If you're a starter, you have a black shirt. Tony White decided to go 11 plus 1. Just weird how that's changed, that there is no angst. There's no drama around this. And there has been a lot of drama around one of the better traditions. And in my opinion, the one tradition that continues from border to border in this country about Nebraska football, and that is the black shirt.
Yeah, it's right. And you made me think of the history of the last maybe 10 years of how that has been handled, whether it was 19 guys got a black shirt or you had...
Don't play games with it.
You had a poor performance at the end of the year or towards the end of the year where black shirts were pulled, but then there were certain guys like, well, I'm not giving mine up. And so, there were always weird stories that would come around, whether it was the beginning of the season of when they got handed out. Like you mentioned, one guy or two guy get them, and then you're going to add to it as the first game takes place, and then we'll see if there's more to be added, and we'll make this a season-long thing. It's never been consistent. You're right. I think that's probably the best way to put it is it's a very no-nonsense type of I guess, executing of handing out the black shirts of, hey, you guys saw the depth chart on Monday. You saw our starters. We think Cam Lenhart, who's going to play a lot, is also deserving of that because his part of this also goes back to what he's been doing since, mat drills and everything. So we don't feel like we're diluting the tradition by giving 18 or 19. I know that always drew the ire of former black shirts themselves. But then also, we're just giving it to one. So you're telling me going into the season, only one person is worthy of that too, or that whole just bizarre situation. And I think it was the Riley era when they were kind of crapping the bed there towards the end of the year. And so a couple guys said, we don't deserve to wear these. We're taking them off. But there are other guys like, no, I earned it. So I'm going to keep it. So then you essentially, what came out of that is, so you don't even have the defensive players. The guys that are wearing this are on the same page right now. That is not a good look. And again, drama, to your point, drama.
Two-Card Monty brings up something on the stream, and this may be the case, is there is less drama about this tradition when the defense actually is good. And they were good. They were good last year.
Yeah. That your eyeballs tell you who probably deserves them.
November, they needed to be better, but they were, for the most part, what the defense is supposed to be. So there is less drama compared to the defense hasn't lived up to the tradition. So it's all over the map, and should they have it taken away and yada, 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 yada. But it was like, no, they didn't play games. It just, they handed them out and everybody just kind of went about their business.
I think you're right though, about there'll be more on the reaction, the human element of it, which is cool. And that still is very, very cool. I think you're going to see that in the next Chasing 3. I think you answered that question right there of the lack of social media content yesterday when this happened is probably being saved for just that.
It's interesting to me. We started out talking about what happened in Louisville last night with Nebraska volleyball and kicking off their season. Could I convince you guys and everybody else that the two programs that are running parallel this fall, their identity will be, and the reason why they are successful will be black shirts and black shorts? Are you vibing with me here? Because I think in Nebraska volleyball's case, I mean, their blocking game,
you saw how they won that game,
and I know that,
and what escaped them in the national championship game last year too.
I know there's a Frohocker that's a quarterback in Lincoln. The reason why Nebraska will go to a bowl game, the number one reason, in my opinion, is defense. So could I convince you that in the Devaney Center and in Memorial Stadium, the identity of both programs are built on defense?
I could get behind that.
Okay.
Always get behind that.
And okay, so
defense will be the reason why Nebraska football finds a way to be relevant in November.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so
they're able to flip games. Okay.
I asked this question last week, so I think you're kind of answering it. But one of the questions I had last Thursday was, will Nebraska's offense, from a production standpoint, will it have the same type of value, or essentially will the Nebraska offense of the 2024 season ever catch up to the defense? And my answer was, as far as expectations, no, but I think that's a good thing, because given personnel of this defense, given the experience that all those guys have had together, that if the offense is just doing what they need to do, which I think there's reason to believe they could do more than that, but if they never catch up to the defense, I think that that's actually a good thing.
Defense needs to be better at Nebraska than they were last year. The schedule is different. The kind of quarterbacks they're going to play, the kind of coordinators and head coaches they're going to play that thrive on offense.
Mm-hmm.
Nebraska's defense, for them to get to where they want to go, has to be better than they were last year.
Especially in November. You're absolutely right, especially in November.
There's a thing about relevancy right now, okay? A lot of discussion. Colorado football is relevant. Colorado football is relevant before they kick off the season, okay? Because they make themselves relevant by what they say and who's running the program in a celebrity coach.
Mm-hmm.
You want them, that's the worst thing to happen, okay? I don't want to be relevant in June. I don't want to be relevant in July.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be relevant in August. I don't want to be relevant in September. You know teams in that sport that are really friggin' good, they're relevant in November.
Yeah,
and people talk about them, not for the drama, but they talk about them because of the way they play the sport.
Yeah.
And that's for Nebraska. Nebraska is a good story right now. Okay, people are talking about them. I want people that say blank nationally to get away from the schedule, and you believe because of personnel, not because of the schedule. If you can do that, then I'm going to give you a little extra listen. But Nebraska isn't relevant right now. The whole goal this year is to be relevant in the month of November.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can accomplish that, then you're like, man, we've made a step. Because I don't care about being relevant in September.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care about being relevant in October. I want to be relevant in November.
Yeah.
Colorado is relevant, Paul Feinbaum. They are relevant. People talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
But they're relevant before the season kicks off.
Yeah.
And that's the worst relevancy to have.
Case in point, how much hype. And they were relevant after 2 weeks of college football last year.
Yeah, it was September.
Exactly. Case in point on that. How many people were even giving them a sniff in November?
Yeah, you're not relevant.
There was exactly.
And then you become relevant in January and February and March.
Mm-hmm. Because the conversation right now is going to be more about headlines, more storylines than anything. Once we actually get the old toe to leather and the scoreboard is on, then that relevancy is all about what you're doing on the field. I mean, we know that. And that was what was so disappointed about last year is Nebraska was on the cusp of being relevant if they could just figure out a way to win 1 or 2 games in November, which they were right there to do. So, and that also goes into one of the bigger goals that I have for this team this year is because we got down this rabbit hole because of the Aer Lingus Classic leading up to the Florida State Georgia Tech game. And I remember the mindset. I felt it too. I know so many people did. When Nebraska, I don't mean to bring up bad memories, but big part of that goes with the onside kick. They're leading that game, okay? How many people, as soon as that happened, though, thought,
it's 2 years ago yesterday.
I know how this is going to go. I know how this is going to end. To be able to change that part of it. Relevancy nationally, yes, but relevancy amongst the fan base and the things that matter, that if something happens late in a game, that all of a sudden your mindset has been shifted because you've watched this team do it enough that you're not thinking, I know how this goes. Other than, as opposed to actually, they're good. They got it.
Nebraska's not relevant in November. This is a lost season.
Agreed.
That's I'm going to leave it at that.
Absolutely agree.
You can do whatever you want with that. But if Nebraska's not relevant in the month of November, even for 2 weeks, then this is not the season that I thought it would be.
Mm-hmm. And that's where the scenarios that people always want to play out right now. If you go to 6-1 or 7-0 to start the season, would you be okay with a 7-5 season or a 8-4 season if you get off to that type of start? This is where that context comes in. Okay, well then what did you do in November? All right, we know the schedule that you have in November. What did you do? Chances are you lost most of those games then in that scenario.
All right, got to take a break. Scott Docterman's going to join us in about 12 minutes and 23 seconds to discuss Iowa, among other things. Jay Moore will stop by at 9, former black shirt, who's got a thought or two. Boy, he looked good. The cameras looked good for Michael, Jay, and Damon last night on Big Red Wrap-Up. They got a new set. They borrowed it. They got the old Seinfeld set when Kramer went and rescued.
What was it? The Merv Griffith show? Yeah. Did the seats still smell?
It's fantastic. So Jay will join us every Wednesday at that time. And then Marty Smith from ESPN will stop by with thoughts on the upcoming season and information on a project that he is involved in that is fantastic and right in Marty's wheelhouse. That's still to come as we roll till 10 on a Wednesday at 1620 The Zone. All right, Scott Docterman from The Athletic coming up here in a little bit. Speaking of The Athletic, really good story this morning from Mitch Sherman, and it's in Mitch's wheelhouse. They just said, you got about 30,000 words, just start writing. It's about Dylan Raiola and freshman quarterbacks and how they have fared from the Peyton Mannings of the world to the Chad Henneys to the Trevor Lawrence, who had a incredible freshman year, won a national championship.
Yep.
So what Dylan Raiola's season might look like and the expectations, it's really, really good. But that's a question I think we're all going to have. And even once the season begins, and listen to him yesterday, and there's sometimes you hear him talking and you're like, that kid's older than a regular freshman. Was he created in a lab? Like, this can't be true. He's got so much self-awareness.
Yeah.
He didn't come here just for the money.
Yeah.
Wherever that came from. I got that. Someone sent that to me yesterday. There was a podcast. I think it might have been it's not Josh Pate, but it's that kind of, was like the only reason he's at Nebraska is because of the money. One of the reasons. But you listen to him and you're like, what's going on here?
Kid works awfully hard for the money then.
But it's, what is his ceiling? I know we've talked around that.
Yeah.
But what is the ceiling for a freshman quarterback in the landscape of freshman quarterbacks in college football? There have been 31 five-star quarterbacks in the history of rankings.
Mm-hmm.
First time Nebraska's ever had one of them. The freshman ceiling looks like what? Look at Chad Henne's freshman year at Michigan. I would be interested in that one. Of that, or 2017, Jake Fromm. 62% passer, 2,615 yards passing, 24 touchdowns. Now, there were more elements of that Georgia team in 17, but there's the balance of what does a freshman ceiling look like for Raiola in terms of numbers that equates to the required wins to get into a bowl game. Really, really good in-depth article on The Athletic.
This was also part of, I think, a conversation that a lot of people are now going to be forced to maybe not necessarily have it as far as just the ceiling his freshman year.
Mm-hmm.
But when all is said and done with this season, will you see that trajectory from starting this Saturday? Will that continue to elevate? And obviously that is availability. You're assuming health and everything. That, for me personally, I have no problem setting a higher expectation level on him for a lot of factors, a lot of it that have been on display anytime he's at the podium. The reputation that he has amongst his teammates, every one of them spoke about him yesterday. Ben Scott, I think, had the answer that tells you a lot of what you need to know when it came to at what point did you see him as a potential starting quarterback this year. And he said from day one, the time he arrived, the way that he handled himself. So there's a lot of the ancillary stuff about that. But this is where I also do say, and I know this is on paper right now when it comes to the schedule, but do not dismiss the way that Nebraska starts out. When I think of confidence for a true freshman is such a powerful thing. When you are put in positions to succeed, that when you really get into the meat of your schedule, and this is not to dismiss what he's going to be up against, not only this Saturday, but also the following Saturday night with everything that's going to be going on from a different type of challenge. But having that luxury at home, having a lot of those challenges early in the first 7 games that we all keep talking about, but the majority of those games being at home, 5 out of those 7 games being at home, that you have an opportunity to grow in the comforts there, that by the time things get on the road against even more aggressive defenses, that you will have that built-in confidence. Because I think Dylan Raiola, college football confidence that he can gain early in that, I think makes him a very dangerous man his true freshman year.
You want to know what a winner to me is with a freshman quarterback starting at Nebraska on Saturday? Is that when you watch him and you leave the stadium and you call into Big Red Overreaction, which you and Connor on,
Me
right?
and Connor, yeah.
All right.
Connor and I.
Big Red Overreaction might be a dud. There's no drama. There's no angst.
No,
he's right. If they win 42-10, we probably won't listen.
No, I'm not talking like now. It might be changing. Like even last year, the tone.
Oh, in general,
the tone in a 5-7 season wasn't like what has made Big Red Overreaction.
Yeah.
It was actually kind of calm a little bit.
The Colorado.
But
game,
if you call into Connor and Nick on Big Red Overreaction, or you leave the stadium, or you're watching the game in the man cave or with your friends and family, and you can say he's what everybody says he is, week one was a success for the freshman quarterback.
Yep.
We got to get to Scott Docterman here after the break. Jay Moore and also Marty Smith from ESPN, all still set to join us on this Hump Day edition of Mornings with Sharp and Handley and Jimmy on 1620 The Zone.
Halftime is brought to you by Omaha Whiskey Fest 2024, the largest celebration of whiskey in the region, taking place September 28th. Same day as the Purdue game. Why that's important? Well, Big Red Overreaction will be live at Whiskey Fest at the downtown Hilton. And don't forget, we got a chance for you to win some passes a little bit later on today.
All right, coming up on Saturday, there's going to be an amazing thing going on in Kinnick Stadium as we get ready to welcome in our good friend from The Athletic, Scott Docterman. David Eicholt, who covers Iowa for 24/7, he's a graduate of Nebraska. A lot of people around here know David. He tweeted out this incredible stat, Doc, yesterday that Saturday will be the first Iowa game not coached by Hayden Fry or Kirk Ferentz since November 25th of 1978 when they played at Michigan State and Bob Cummings was the head coach before Hayden Fry took over. Welcome, Doc. That is an incredible note. Kudos to Iowa, but also going to be weird that Kirk will not be patrolling the sidelines.
Yeah, it will be a little bit different. That's very, very well known. Everybody knew that Hayden and Kirk have been there since late 1978. But yeah, it's going to be different not having him on the sidelines. I'm sure he'll be at his home. I mean, he's going to leave the hotel at midnight on Friday night and go to his home and watch it, I'm sure, from his man cave. So yeah, it'll be a different scene in Iowa City.
There was a suggestion made by somebody, I don't name names, that thought it would be a good idea for maybe, before the game, Kirk can go from tailgate to tailgate and glad hand all of the fans. I mean, is there any possibility of something like that?
I would say between 0 and -5. Yeah, I don't see Kirk ever doing anything like that. I mean, Kirk's a good guy. I mean, he's the kind of guy that you see if you see him in a bar and you can have a beer and you can have a nice conversation with him, but he's not the kind of guy to do a cake stand like that.
Yeah, I didn't take him as a fireball guy either. But Scott, as this is always odd timing when things like this happen. You're everyone's so amped up for the season, and then all of a sudden, the program is hit with something like this, a distraction, because obviously he's going to be back in week 2. There's enough continuity on this coaching staff that I don't think that this is going to all of a sudden set the season on a bad course. But from a distraction standpoint, is it anything more than that, kind of a nuisance in preparation for the season?
I think in this situation, it's not as big of a deal for Iowa because they do have such incredible depth and leadership. Yeah. They return 9 starters on defense, the entire offensive line. There's enough leadership there and enough continuity that I think that they could survive this. And in fact, it may have the better effect for them. It may be a galvanizing situation where it gives them a little bit of a chip on their shoulder and a little bit of a, hey, let's do this for Coach Ferentz. Mm-hmm. And they're playing an FCS opponent, so Iowa should have I wouldn't say that they would lack for motivation, but this should make it their focus a little bit more clear. So I think this probably has the opposite effect rather than actually hurting them.
Cade McNamara named the starting quarterback. Kamari Moulton, running back from Fort Lauderdale, is the first running back. I think they'll play a multitude of running backs, but it's all part of a new offense by Tim Lester. Doc, from afar, if I tune in and I have past memories of what Iowa's offenses look like, what will be different about Iowa's offense on Saturday outside of the personnel?
Iowa's offense is going to look pre-snap when they line up immediately really similar. There's not going to be a fullback. That will happen only out of motion. But where it changes is that there's going to be a lot more trading from the tight ends and a lot more motion by the receivers in pre-snap, and some of that's going to result in some swing passes, which is something Iowa never did very much of, or potentially screens out of that motion. And part of that is designed to enable Iowa's offensive line to incorporate better zone blocking, because in the last 7 to 8 years, there's been such a legislation against cut blocking that their zone techniques have really gone down the wayside. And what the motion does is it kind of freezes the second level, and they actually had some success for a change against their defense in some of their practices because it kind of screwed up some of their run fits. And that's the anticipation here, that a lot of that motion is going to help. So I think you're going to still see, they ran 3 wide receiver sets probably on a third of their plays. It'll be similar to that, maybe a little higher, a lot of 2 tight end, but I don't think that it's going to, but when you really check the nuance of the offense, it's going to be quite a bit different.
Scott, a lot made out of quarterback play, and rightfully so, given where this offense was a year ago, and Deacon Hill, and now having a healthy Cade McNamara. We know it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows, though, during fall camp. He, not surprisingly, though, is named the starting quarterback. Is there any feeling that he's still trying to solidify that spot? Meaning if things, the next couple of weeks are a little bit dicey for him, that this, whether it's Lester or Ferentz, they're not going to be afraid to look at Brendan Sullivan and say, hey, we can't do this again offensively, especially at that position?
Of course. I think what we saw, and we only had one public viewing in Iowa, and I went to other places, but at Iowa, we only had one public viewing of the offense, and it was brutal at quarterback. And Cade was worse than, he wasn't as bad as Deacon Hill on any day, but he was not good. And so there's some concern there. Now, there are reasons for that. Part of it is a new offense, and he's coming off an ACL, and so there's a lot of issues there. But I don't think. I think what they're hoped for is that he shakes off the rust in week one. That they have, they're not playing Iowa's defense anymore. That's a factor, and then also, that they, that he gets a little bit better. Week 2 is going to be the ultimate litmus test of that, though. They're playing Iowa State, and that's going to be really a very challenging game for both teams, for Iowa and Iowa State. And so I think that, how he performs in that game will probably determine whether or not he's solidified that position or if it's still going to remain an open competition.
Tory Taylor walks out the door. I grew up in the age of going to watch Reggie Roby, and I thought he was incredible. And then Tory Taylor comes along, and he's become a star on Hard Knocks, and he will be a star in the NFL. So people wonder, Doc, finally, Iowa's going to take a step back special teams. Do they have another all Big Ten first-team punter that will replace Tory Taylor?
They do have somebody who has comparable, if not even, dare I say, stronger leg strength than him and Reese Dakin. They went back to Pro Kick Australia, which is really strange because there was a punter an hour south of here who grew up an Iowa fan who was the number one punter in the country, but they preferred that style of punting. And Drew Miller went to Georgia, even though he wanted to go to Iowa. And they went to that route. And when you watched him punt, and he was hitting, 65, 70 yards on a lot of his punts. And you're wondering, okay, there is no drop off there. Now, what Tory was able to do that was unique that I have never seen before, and that is that he's able to have such great spin and angles on his punts to where he can really knock the ball out at the 6-yard line, or it hits the 5 and it dies like it's a great wedge shot or something. And I don't know if he can do that. That's something we'll have to see. But I think when it comes to actual leg strength, that Iowa will be in a much similar position than it has been in the last 4 years under Tory Taylor.
Scott, this is the other conversation that I'm interested, especially you being a lot closer and covering this day in, day out. There's been some interesting expectations, or at least Iowa thrown into this new version of college football with an expanded playoff, that Iowa could be one of those teams that is knocking on the door and possibly finding themselves in, based on some people's preseason predictions. Is it discussed at all? Is it something that Iowa isn't hiding away from when it comes to those conversations of what this season ultimately could be for this team?
They're not hiding from any of that. They're not necessarily openly discussing the playoff, but whenever they're asked about it, they really are pretty open that that is their goal, that is what they want to accomplish. And when you think about it, they won 10 games last year with the worst offense in Big Ten history, and they have a schedule that's probably fairly comparable. That they feel like they have that opportunity to do something like that. But it's going to come down to offense, and covering Iowa for so many years, and now kind of Iowa and other programs, but specific to Iowa, what I've noticed is that these types of years for them either end up 11-1 or 7-5, and it's either they win the close games or they lose them. And last year they won almost all of them except the Minnesota game. This year even though the schedule doesn't include, say, a Penn State or a Michigan or an Oregon, it does include teams that I think have gotten better. I think Nebraska is much better. I think Wisconsin's better. I mean, Northwestern always gives them fits, even though Fitz isn't there anymore. Minnesota is going to be a challenge. I mean, the Iowa State's probably the second best team on their schedule at this point. So they've got those types of opponents where it could go either way. And that's where the offense really has to come in, because I think the defense can do so much. And last year they were able to pull it out. But I don't know about this year if their offense is in comparable position. I do think the running game will be much improved, though.
All right, so let's fast forward 3 months from about now, a Friday night, Black Friday game, Kinnick Stadium, NBC. Doc, what is on the line for both Iowa and Nebraska with high expectations, and usually a game that never was to decide who was going to win the West? In the winner goes to the championship, and never seemed to be like one team was 10 wins, the other was 10 wins. It was always one was good, one was bad, or they were even. 3 months from now, what's on the line when Nebraska and Iowa play on Friday night in Kinnick Stadium?
I think I think this could be the most anticipated Black Friday game between the two programs. Nebraska joined the Big Ten. I think Nebraska has the opportunity to be much improved. I do believe that, and I think, depending on what Dylan Raiola does, I mean, it could. And Nebraska's schedule is the most advantageous in the league, that and Rutgers. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if this is a 10-1 versus 9-2 game where you have a playoff spot or on the fringe of the playoffs at stake. And if it's at night at Kinnick Stadium, which will be a lot different than I think some of the atmospheres at both places have been, I won't say stale, but it hasn't been the same that it usually is in most places, I think, just because it's Black Friday. But if it's at night with that kind of stakes, I think you'll see it a completely different environment, like you do for when somebody Michigan comes to town in early November, that type of thing. So I'm hopeful. I think that'd make great stories for all of us that week, and I do think that's a real possibility.
Not speaking on this season, but something that I think we all took part in yesterday, and watching a special on Netflix that did involve Iowa. And one of the things before Gary and I had a chance to see it, as we were getting a little bit of the sneak peek review yesterday, was the game ball being awarded to Connor Stalions from that 2022 Iowa game when Michigan came into Kinnick Stadium. Did that reopen wounds with this? Has this been since the whole Connor Stalions thing? Had it been forgotten about a little bit and resurfaced a little bit, especially with a little bit of the conversation about Iowa in the scouting, or I should say not the advanced scouting, because Connor Stalions said he never did advanced scouting, but how that whole thing played out?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a moment that everybody's known about here, and been one that's been discussed. Not only that, but the 2021 championship game was probably more compromised by that situation than even the game at Kinnick Stadium. And I wrote about this today, and it's just I talked to I attempted to talk to coaches at 5 different schools around the Big Ten, both East and West, or former East and West divisions, to get their views on this topic. And among my major points was that about 4 hours before the 2021 championship game, a coach called an Iowa staffer and said, "Hey, just to let you know, Michigan has all of your signals. They have everything." And at that point, Iowa had no chance of changing their signals or moving them to somebody else or whatever. And they were obliterated. And Michigan was clearly the better team. I'm not even suggesting that at all. But 42-3 that year, my guess is it would have been more like 26-0, like it was this last season. And then in 2022, the year that he did get the game ball, I mean, when you think about it, I mean, Kinnick is a mosh pit for teams in the top 5. Yep. I mean, they had won 5 out of the last 6 before that against teams in the top 5. And in that game specifically, Michigan had lost 4 straight at Kinnick Stadium. Harbaugh had never beaten Iowa and Kinnick, and that includes his days as quarterback at Michigan, where they went to the Rose Bowl, and one year it was 1 versus 2 and Iowa won. So there's a lot at stake for Michigan there, and everybody knew that story. It was just kind of confirmed, but it's one that it's kind of frustrating to them because that was the type of game where Iowa kind of pulls those out. And then they lost by 13. And Michigan was the better team. I'm not suggesting it wasn't. But Iowa's beating better teams than themselves in those types of games. And that was one where Michigan just seemed to know everything that was going on. And so, yeah, it was old wounds. I don't think the wound had ever really closed.
Wow, fantastic stuff. Doc, we always appreciate your time and your work. Thank you. Enjoy the season, and I'm sure we'll be talking periodically throughout it.
All right, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
That's Scott Docterman from The Athletic.
Oh, if we could get a Black Friday game with that.
Now, that would be that'd be rather appealing because Nebraska and Iowa never played with a trip to Indianapolis on the line for both teams.
Right.
I mean,
the year Nebraska made it, they had to beat Iowa, but Iowa wasn't playing for, well, if Iowa wins.
And they both have never really, except for a couple of years where maybe they were both 7-4 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's always been like there's a 10-win team against a 4-win team or a 7 and a 9.
There's a lot of spoiler rules.
That would definitely add to it. But back to
makes a rivalry.
Back to the Iowa connection to Connor Stalions. Hello.
Mm-hmm.
Hello. Did you watch it
did.
yesterday?
Yes. And actually, it was better than some of the other stuff that they've put out there.
Mm-hmm.
But just with I never realized he started this whole process when he was at the academy. I didn't realize. I thought there was something that he had a background in, but I didn't realize. Like, it was interesting that they, ironically, in his first game of doing this, deciphering signals, was against Ohio State. Him being a huge Michigan guy, and then seeing a little bit of the parents' reaction too, like his mother being interviewed on this too. I got to admit, it was a lot better than some of the previous in-depth looked at some of the controversies, but there was that deniability that I thought was laughable of, first of all, I've never done advanced scouting. Yeah.
I guess I need to watch it today.
Don't
You've
buy
convinced
that.
me.
But remember what
I know the director.
Remember what you brought up yesterday of the dude is just sort of out there and he's a diehard Michigan guy. I did walk away from this at least entertaining the thought that maybe, the whole, if there's a big recruiting weekend, hey, make sure everybody has a good time. I just don't want to know about it. I thought Jim Harbaugh might have had some actual direction on stuff. I'm at least entertaining the idea of, I know what this guy does. However you want to decipher signals, that's fine. I don't want to know about it. And I think he was extremely persistent and motivated to go above and beyond. I'll give him this.
He's got the manifesto on how to be the head coach
yes.
of Michigan.
And the dude is
600 pages, you said?
Well,
he's not dumb. He's not a dumb person.
So he has this graphic
that he plays a video game.
A graphic of where every player is from that's been drafted since 2010.
And he has, it's a Google Doc. And he's convinced that when he becomes a head football coach that he can use that will give him the advantage. And he's like, of course, I'm not going to tell you, my data and what I'm using and how I'm using it. But yeah, you see the map of the United States and you see all those spots of where people are, where they've been recruited, where they've been drafted. It was actually pretty fascinating. I have to admit, I just thought it was some dude who, look, deciphering signals is not an easy thing. You got to have some type of a sharp mind.
I'm out.
Dude's intelligent. He's pretty intelligent.
Hey, he just has more information than you. That's what some would say.
Yeah. And then his I guess it would have been his military buddy, his battle buddy, if you will. You could tell he was a little bit more open to saying, what we were doing wasn't right. I kind of knew that, but what am I supposed to do? I'm also a big Michigan fan too.
Now, the people will quick to respond that after he was let go, Michigan beat Penn State, Ohio State, Bama, and Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Could have still gotten some.
So the Michigan man will say, deal with it.
Oh, and that was the other thing too. I love how they talked about the Michigan man.
Michigan man.
Got to be the Michigan man. The Michigan man's always above all that stuff, is always the very distinguished gentleman who just does right. It's just a little bit better than everybody else. Yeah. It was good.
Chris Webber was a Michigan man.
I was worried that it would, again, abruptly end or just fall flat. more than how he got to deciphering the signals and the strategies that he uses. They're going through all the charts of the dummy signals compared to the real signals and when those are changed and how he would key in on certain things. And then when you would see him, and we saw images of this last year too, where he'd be, right next to Harbaugh or right next to DC or right next to the OC. But to see all of those images of him right there, and then even at times being on headset, it was
all right.
It was good. It was good. It's worth a watch. It definitely is worth a watch.
All right, we got to take a quick break. Coming up next hour, Jay Moore stops by. Marty Smith from ESPN. We'll catch up on some tweets and some emails in the Equitable Bank inbox on things we've already discussed. And also, the most curious guy you want to see that is not a starter on Saturday in Lincoln. Everybody will focus on 15.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a guy that I would like to see, but maybe won't see depending on how the game goes. That makes sense?
I'm sure it does.
We'll do that coming up here in a little bit in 1620 The Zone.
Hey, fall's just around the corner, and 1620 The Zone is giving you the chance to win season passes to Nebraska's favorite fall attraction, Vala's Pumpkin Patch. You could win 2 2024 season passes to Vala's and enjoy all the fall family fun that Vala's has to offer. Enter to win right now at 1620thezone.com.
All right, I just during the break went over to my For You page. It's still a bunch of scantily clad women giving picks for football games, or baseball games, or people fighting, either in stands or out on the street.
This is what you like.
And politics.
It knows you.
And politics.
Oh,
I just keep
see, that's always the
Mine
best.
was
scrolling.
Brett McMurphy in college football, Bud Light.
Yeah, it's you got to be careful when you go over there. It can be a place that'll change your mood. But something I did find: Price Picks has a Dylan Raiola prop out for Saturday, 243.5 passing yards and half an interception. Are you going less or more on Price Picks? They give you less or more. Less than 243.5 passing yards or more, or less or more, half an interception.
More,
which would be a really, really odd way to put that in the stats.
Yeah. More. And you said a half an interception?
Half an interception.
I'll say more and more.
Okay.
It's Beardmore.
Last year,
UTEP
only forced 1 turnover per game. Just do what you will with that. But speaking of turnovers and the quarterback position, which last year threw 16 interceptions, and in terms of efficiency was 13th in a 14-team league. Iowa was the only team that was behind Nebraska in passing efficiency last year. Now you have the kid at quarterback who graduated from the School of Quarterbacking. He's somebody that probably is number one at everybody's list when they walk into the ballpark on Saturday that they want to see. They're very curious to see him.
Mm-hmm.
The discussion yesterday was all about the quarterbacks from 15 to 10. And then Danny Kaelin got into the mix. Well, maybe he didn't, but he's in my mix.
Okay.
He might be one of the more non-starters or familiar players, not named, and then Ja'Cory Barney, that I want to see. It'll take a little bit of help from his brothers to get Danny Kaelin into the game. But because of this discussion about Heinrich Harburg is going to be used on the field and other ways, it leads me to believe that I need to see Danny Kaelin, that I want to see where Danny Kaelin looks much different from the spring when he's had a whole offseason and a fall camp. I'm very, very curious to see Danny Kaelin. I want to see what he looks like. I physically have seen him.
Yeah.
But in terms of quarterbacking, because will I see what this staff sees, that they are willing to let a guy who started 8 games last year and did not win the job, and I'm glad he's disappointed because that guy's a competitor, why they would say, if we got to move Harburg and play him out there as a Taysom Hill, well, that's okay. We got this other freshman.
Yeah, we feel like we got another guy there. I am, for the simple fact that the only time that I've seen him in game competition was in the spring game. That was a mix. You got to see a little bit of him in the open practice. Obviously not in the same settings as in the spring game, but there's also been a run of the last couple of weeks of Danny Kaelin being brought into the conversation. But you're right. Yesterday, and I thought it was interesting because Rule was not as all in on, and I understand there's gamesmanship there about how they would use Heinrich Harburg, but basically that they would find a way to try to use him. That Marcus Satterfield essentially said, "Yeah, he's going to be." And you had a lot of the guys.
When he said the word "a lot," did we think, "Yeah, right"? Texas El Paso is like, "Dang, throw out the playbook."
Right. And there's the exact opposite of gamesmanship because did you notice even Thomas Fedoni and even the other players were saying he's going to be on the field a lot? Like they all went in on it.
He said a lot.
Yeah, he did.
Is he better than the guy you're taking off the field to insert him? I get it. He's athletic and you want to use all of your resources, but are you taking off a guy off the field to insert your versatile backup quarterback? Is he better than the guy you're taking off the field? That's how I personally would look at it.
And so I don't know if you heard our conversation with Sip last week. He said the exact same thing. He said this is the conversation that annoys him more
Smart
than
guy.
God, it was that. Are you going to use Heinrich Harburg? And recruiting questions were the things that maybe annoyed him the most. As far as that question, though, yeah, I mean, you're not in a position right now as a football program that you're going to remove certain weapons, even in a snap, to feel obligated to get another guy out there. Now, is some of this stuff just going to be window dressing to give a defense a little bit more to think about? Okay, sure.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a fair question, because if Heinrich Harburg, whatever role he would be
What is his best role? If he's going to play the Taysom Hill, and they should use all their resources.
Yeah. Is he like a slot guy? Is he kind of
I think Nebraska has good offensive guys. They don't need to be a gadget-based thing.
Right.
Okay. What would be his strength? For God's sake, I'm not letting him handle the football. I don't care if that was just last year and this is different.
Mm-hmm.
I have PTSD.
Yeah, I don't want him throwing it.
I don't want him throwing it. I don't want him handling the football. So is it going to be catching, which he actually did last year? The first reception of the year was to Heinrich Harburg.
See, that for me, I immediately go to the slot position where he's out there. There's dedicated focus on, could he be in motion? Could there be some pre-snap stuff with him where he's in motion? You're thinking, okay, he's going to be involved in this play somehow, some way. And it's just a complete decoy to get the defense.
Jalen Lloyd's off the field, or Bonner's off the field.
Yeah, Janier Bonner, exactly. No,
Garcia Castaneda's off the field. I got guys for a reason, okay? I'm not built on gadgets. I'm built on deception, but I'm not going to – I feel good about my guys I got out there. I'm not taking a 5-star off the field to put in my guys that started 8 games last year.
Do you think that conversation yesterday, because again, a lot of the players were talking about this too, do you think that was a lot of smokescreen though?
No, they'll find a way to use him, but I don't know the word a lot.
A lot, yeah. I think a lot is used more as a get ready for this.
If he's being used as a lot, I need to see Danny Kaelin right now. Because, oh boy. But what yesterday did in this discussion is it allowed me and many others to go down the YouTube well of the 99 California game.
I remember this game. Keith Jackson called it.
Well, it's crazy that Keith Jackson was on the call for this game.
Because the
game was ugly. So Nebraska just destroyed California, 45-0 in Lincoln. At the time, that was the largest. Yeah, it was the largest crowd in the history of Memorial Stadium back in '99. But it is also the famous game where you remember the angst in '99 is, I don't know about this, Solich.
Yeah,
I don't know, man. I'll be a company guy. If you say Bobby Newcomb's the better quarterback,
right.
I'll listen. But man, what are you going to do with Crouch? He might be your best wide receiver. The one of the stats that are the moments of Eric's career that probably needs to be talked about more is the fact that in 1999, week 2 against California, you had a guy score a rushing touchdown, throw a touchdown pass, catch a touchdown pass, not in the course of a 45-0 game. Eric Crouch did that in the second quarter of that game. He ran for a touchdown. It was just like a yard or two. And then he threw a touchdown pass to Tracy Wistrom.
A very big,
like a 70-yard touchdown pass. And then he had the pass from Newcomb to Crouch that Crouch houses it for 60. That was all in the second quarter. So thank you for the discussion in Lincoln yesterday that you could go back and watch that game in 99, because also reiterated, Carlos Polk probably needs more love about his performance as a Husker.
Crazy Carlos Polk,
man crush,
dude.
When I was in high school,
Gatoring over people after
they beat the hell out
Rocket
of the
TFL
Bears on that day.
I think I just took a Hims.
All right, here is for your hair.
Well, I need that
too.
It
works. It actually does other things too, Gary.
Yeah,
I know.
It works in other regions.
But if Frank Thomas isn't using it, I'm not using it.
That's true. If Doug Flutie isn't using it, I don't know if I won't even listen.
Here is Charlie on the 42 Degree The Source hotline. Good morning, Charlie.
Good morning, guys. How's it going?
Good. How are you?
Good, Charlie.
Good. So sort of kind of a two-parter here real quick. Let's get your guys' prediction on the Colorado-North Dakota State game. And then also, if Colorado is to lose this game, does that take any air out of the Nebraska-Colorado game? Or does that just get Nebraska fans more fired up for that game?
What before we answer, what do you think, Charlie? If 0-1 Colorado comes into Lincoln compared to 1-0 Colorado, the reaction same, different?
I think fans will be probably a little more excited, probably a bit of the same, just because it is Colorado, it's Dion, and we have a better chance of beating the hell out of them.
All right. Charlie, thanks for the phone call.
I think Colorado wins this game as much as I wanted to see one of those weird Thursday night games. This isn't, it's been well documented too. This isn't the same North Dakota State team that we've seen 5-6 years ago too, but Colorado should put up points. I'll say 38-14.
I'm rolling with the Bison. Somebody's got to do it.
Okay.
Like 37-34.
31-17 Colorado. I think it's all about when you play them. I think Colorado is going to be better again early in the season. The Colorado-Nebraska game is going to be a test. Going to be a test.
I'll see them later.
Colorado early in the year will be better than they are later in the year. I still think they get to 6-6, but they'll be fresher. North Dakota State will be better later in the year. This is, I keep reminding people, this is not your old North Dakota State. They are a different program. They also have a brand new head coach. Now, he has familiarity with, he was there. I think North Dakota State just lost their best defensive player. He's out due to an injury. They have 2 interior offensive linemen who that is their first college game, first college start. I don't know if I like that against Colorado, who they're a little bit better on the defensive line. I also think Colorado will spread North Dakota State out. I think their skill guys are greater than the defenders on the other side. They still have Shadur Sanders. I think Colorado wins 31-17. The only way that North Dakota State wins tomorrow night, in my opinion, is their quarterback run game controls the clock. And all of a sudden, you have fewer possessions. So you keep Colorado's offense off the field, and North Dakota State all of a sudden is going on these 14-play, 8-minute drives, and they shorten the game. Remember, we had Georgia Tech, Florida State, which had 14 possessions combined. There was also, so I've been told that there has been a reminder sent out after that game. This might be, and I know they bring U.S. college personnel over to run the clock and everything. The play clock was not starting right away.
Oh, really?
So the game clock would continue to run. So you're wondering, how do they have so many fewer possessions? It can't be just these extended drives. The game clock or the play clock was not starting right away. So it wasn't going to 40, boom, plays over, boom, 40. It was like 5-6 seconds after the play was over before it would start again, but the game clock was running. And so that's been a reminder of people that are running the clock, the independent people that run the clocks of, hey, we had a little issue in Dublin.
Conversion.
But for North Dakota State, that's the way they win this game is they shorten the game. But I think Colorado has too much. Colorado wins 31-17. I think you want Colorado to be 1-0.
I think you do.
Now, at the end of the day, when you get to Saturday, it won't matter because the helmet doesn't have a record on it.
Right.
But still, in terms of the buildup,
and you'd
rather have them be 1-0. Now, you could make it very uncomfortable in Colorado if they come in 0-1 and they leave 0-2.
Absolutely.
And
that sounds like
then
fun.
It's not our problem. We're done with Colorado. We're on to Northern Iowa.
I mean, that would be the silver lining right there. Again, I think most Nebraska
Shout out
fans.
Sean Keeler. Let's go.
I think you understand what it would be if Colorado was 1-0 and Nebraska is 1-0 and you get into that game and then you're able to beat them. You have a little bit of that chest puffing moment, but there's the other part of it. I know I'll be in this position. I think every Nebraska fan will be. If this game is in the fourth quarter and it is still up for grabs, that everybody will just be naturally rooting for North Dakota State. Because when you hate a team, you hate a team. It doesn't matter.
That's right, Nick. You do.
It doesn't matter
Unless you have money on it.
Well, there is that part of it too.
I do like money.
Then you can emotionally hedge. That you look at that team on the verge of an embarrassment right out of the gate, especially with the type of hype that Colorado has. And there's always going to be that part of you that is not thinking of, damn, no, we need Colorado to be 1-0. No, you're going to think of how funny this will be. Deion's got to answer questions about a team that fell flat on its face against an FCS team. I'm all about that. I want to see that. I know the game will still have the same type of energy under the lights of Memorial Stadium the following week, whether they're 0-1 or 1-0. But yeah, from a overall national appeal standpoint, sure, you want both teams to be 1-0. But if this thing is in the fourth, I think 95% of Nebraska fans are rooting for North Dakota State to upset.
I got them going 4-8,
Colorado.
so you got to get one of those 8 somewhere. So
Do you have Colorado going 4-8?
Yep. I'll stick by that
I think
too.
they get to a bowl game.
I think they have.
I'm pulling up their schedule to make sure I still have that.
I think they get to 6-6. That's my ceiling for Colorado this year. But that game,
Yeah, 4-8.
But this is the thing about Colorado, and I know that next week will be a lot of fun around here. If you're Nebraska, you acknowledge the interest in that game, but you want your performance against Colorado to look exactly the same the following week.
Yep.
You want to build your program where it doesn't matter who you're playing. It's all about you, and your brand and your identity has been established, and you go out there on Saturday, and that's the easy part. That you've already put in the work, the hard part. Now it's the easy part, and you look the same week after week, and you don't ride the roller coaster. So, and it's just, I think that's another part of when I say a goal this year is to be relevant in November, is that you look the same week after week. Now you get better.
Yeah, you see gradual
but you
improvement.
don't ride the,
Yeah.
where was that team, or where did they go?
Yeah, where do they go? Jesus, do you see that half compared to that half? Yeah, a lot of that as far as 2024 goals, I kept talking about the being able to put that trust factor into Nebraska fans' heads in the fourth quarter if something were to go wrong, that you don't think the other shoe has now dropped. You actually think that they have the stones that, yeah, they'll withstand that. That's one. But I think what you said right there too, the consistency and just the constant upward trajectory of that, because a lot of people have brought this to my attention with the amount of excitement that we are looking forward to week 2 on this season. Remember when there was a lot of excitement around a certain Texas team one year, how that backfired. I don't think that's. I think the two are very, very different.
Now, don't say that Nebraska is going to avoid, because I'm all in. I'm all in on the Balloons coming back before Colorado.
They get to come back.
I'm August 28th. Put it on the board.
You got some great ideas today.
Do not be surprised if there are Balloons back for the Colorado game, and then also don't be surprised. You know that big banner they unfurled in the student section?
Yeah.
Don't be surprised in week 2 if that makes a return.
All right.
So it's not they're going to go the red out the world.
Yeah.
But they aren't going to avoid that this is a big old shindig.
And it needs to be. But to
Balloons
your point,
back August 28th. That's my prediction.
Ooh, that's a
the
bold
Balloons
prediction.
will be back in Memorial Stadium for the Colorado game.
Do you think the Big Ten commercial had anything to do with that too? Because they show the balloons coming out and they're like, hey, that was outdated. That hasn't been going on for the last couple seasons now.
Why'd they kill it? What animal were they killing?
There was some.
I remember when it had. I just don't remember what it was.
Concerns about the.
Well, they had a helium shortage.
That's
that's right. And then it never
Helium
came back.
shortage.
Yeah.
But
I
shouldn't suck on it.
I would think that a person that supplies the balloons that is in Lincoln,
Party City,
that
Nobby's doesn't.
They should make sure their phone lines work.
It would be great to have it come back.
I think those are two things I would bring back. I would get the student section fired up. I'd bring that big banner they unfurled. It was the black shirt banner that people got fully hussed for, and were hussed for days and days and days until they had a deflating loss the next time.
And it was accompanied by "Let Me Clear My Throat"
and the balloons. There you go.
And they'll have a drone show. Yep. Kids love drone shows.
This is the first chime in. It's August 28th. Of course, we have next week. But a guy that works in the building named Josh.
Hi, Josh.
Hey, Josh. By the way, happy belated birthday.
Yeah.
He's got a laughing emoji, and he says this is comical.
We try. It's a good show.
So I asked the question: if you were confident in your football team and you were the head football coach at Colorado, wouldn't you talk more about your football team than other things?
It's just Deion though. Deion talks about everything. He doesn't lack confidence, right? I think he's confident.
I don't know. I think people that like their football team talk about their football team when it's a couple of days before the season instead of other things. But that's just me. And I've never been a coach, but I have stayed at a Holiday Inn. Okay?
Good breakfast.
That's just me. That's just an observation. John Cook likes to talk about his team. If John Cook didn't like his team and didn't think they were very good,
talk about his ranch.
he'd talk about his horse.
Yeah.
Okay? He likes to talk about his team. I think coaches that are confident in their team like to talk about their team. They don't talk about other stuff. Maybe they'll get to that other stuff, but that's not the first thing they do. That's just an observation. I don't know. I'd ask Josh that. But he's the Colorado guy, and that's his program. Okay?
Thank you. I actually was hoping we'd
Speaking
get a
of
promo
helium,
on today's show.
Did you just take some helium right there? By the way, Mike in the stream says we put a man on the moon. Doug, the Panama Canal, we can make biodegradable balloons.
Hell yeah.
Just telling you.
You're right, Mike.
The company that has supplied balloons for Nebraska to be sold for the game, you better keep your phone. You better make sure that Cox or Google Fiber or whoever, Allo, isn't Allo?
That's a big, that's happening all throughout the metro.
Our metro or
Let
their
me
metro?
clear
Our
my
metro.
phone lines in case somebody from the university calls.
And just be ready to go.
Listener Matt.
Love it.
Jay Moore, Marty Smith coming up in the last hour on 1620 The Zone.
Amy Grant, huh?
Random ass songs for $200. Too bad you didn't have a read.
No, this is awful.
This is
baby.
It is.
I was in middle school and this was
Okay.
hitting the charts.
This was covered on one of the worst
hold
Monday
on.
night intros
No,
ever.
No, I'm not letting this happen. All right, start over. We're not playing that song.
Why do we have that in our system?
That's what I wanted to know. That's why I played it. All right, let's start him over. What do we
Well,
got?
that was
there we
bad.
go.
That was bad on you. You took the first L of the week. Thank you.
There you go. Little Lizzo. Lizzo would beat Amy Grant in the fight.
Zach into the Equitable Bankins inbox says, please don't bring the balloons back. He said, that is so stupid and such an old-time thing for blue hairs and boomers to do.
I enjoy it.
Well, there were times that people would accidentally let the balloon go or be holding on to it too long. So I understand that in its final days or final years, it wasn't the same thing, but there was something majestic about the first balloon release, which usually took place as long as if Nebraska opened up with the football, would take place in the first minute or so, or the first possession in the first 5 minutes whenever they got the ball, and then they all released. When you actually had to let them go during a field goal because it was the second quarter, and those were the first points put on, it did lose a little bit of its impact.
Here we go. These are in the next weekend. It'll be about keeping receipts.
Do you believe?
Tell you what.
Do you believe?
I'm going to drive to his house if next Saturday turns out. He's talking a lot of smack, man.
Oh, to Josh. I thought you were going to go to Primes.
Dion. I was like,
Boy,
can I come?
He's going to pull a muscle in that jaw. Or he's going to break a finger by all the texting he's doing.
We do have another microphone if he wants to stop by.
This is all about receipts, and we'll own it. You know what? You'll own it, good or bad. M. Bigley says, if on the stream, if Colorado goes 6-6, I'll stand for an hour in my underpants on 72nd Dodge on New Year's Day. Put that on the board. Do not forget that one.
Does M. Bigley think that that's too high or too low?
You're going to be standing next to the people that want Bangladesh to become a state in the U.S.
Or in
I believe that's what the thing was this past weekend.
Mm-hmm. Is that why Castellanos hit a home run last night?
Let's see here. Omaha says need them to be 1-0 to make the Nebraska game more meaningful. Rusty says the Colorado game is the biggest in terms of turning the corner for more than top 100 type players in recruiting. You want them 1-0 with max hype coming in.
Rusty also says 85 and sunny on
Saturday. It's fine if they're 1-0. It is absolutely. But I don't think as far as when the game kicks off and even leading into that Saturday that it takes anything away from the anticipation of that.
Fong Wei Reldman.
Mm-hmm.
Rolled off your tongue.
I love my interaction with him on the stream. He keeps it real.
Mm-hmm.
He said, bring the balloons back. There you go. Zach, you're stupid. Says
Whoa.
PWP fan, not me.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he did say that. Okay, never mind. I was just making sure.
There we go.
I'm all for the balloons. But here's the problem. If you bring it back in the Colorado game, Gary?
Nope.
People, it's been a while. You're going to see a lot of premature releases.
That happens. They're young.
And yes, I'm talking about balloons. But you will. You'll see a couple people just so excited, so giddy during the tunnel walk. One will shoot up in the air. It's just going to happen. If everybody can stay orchestrated and it can go off during the first score and all of them release again like it once was.
So you're saying
be amazing.
That while they are floating in the summer sky, then you have panic bells. Oh, my God. Shadur Sanders threw a pass to Hunter and he went for 25 yards. That it's a red alert.
Yeah, ooh. Well, okay, here's how we can...
Then Nebraska's offense comes on the field and the war machine springs to life, and it opens up one eager eye of a recruit that's sitting in the stands, and then everybody's just focusing on the sky because they can see Nebraska getting into the Case
IH red zone?
Yes. And then all of a sudden, touchdown, and the 99 red balloons go by.
99 red loft balloons.
To worry rule, super scurry. Call the troops out in a hurry. Tony White's defense comes on the field. This is what we've waited for. This is it. The boys are at war. The president is on the line. And as Nebraska scores again against Colorado, another 99 red balloons go by. Can you feel it?
You've outdone yourself once again, my friend.
And that's what they're going to call them as the wide receivers. We're going to ride super high with the high-tech jet fighters. Everyone's a superhero that day, whether he wears 15, whether he wears 19, whether he wears 5. Everyone is a Captain Kirk. He's even rooting for Nebraska to beat Colorado. And as Tom Osborne, who has had his success against Colorado, gives orders to Rule to identify, rule clarifies and classifies the way to beat CU because there's a scramble in the summer sky when the place is coming unglued. And you know what? Those Colorado 99 dreams that they've had with just a release of a red balloon, they die. And you know what? And rule after the game says, if they die, let them. Jay Moore's coming up next on 1620 The Zone. All right, welcome back in. Game week, 3 days away from the start of one of the more anticipated seasons around here, a season of expectations, little drama. Commit to it. And we have, man, look how good he is. He looks good. Looks good on TV, looks good on the radio. Jay Moore joins us now, former Black Shirt, who is back with us for the season. Good morning.
Morning, gentlemen. How we doing?
Good. How are you doing? You look nice and relaxed. You're supposed to be on edge.
I was gonna get in the office this morning, but I said, I'm gonna do it on the back patio of the house interview this morning. So I'm currently sitting out here right now with some beautiful acoustics going on, and got some lawnmowers going on in the back. Hopefully that doesn't pick it up from the golf. I live near a golf course, so they're out mowing this morning. So yeah, shocker, right? Jay Moore living next to a golf course. But
I thought you're catching us on the turn right now.
No, I wish. No, a lot of work to get done yet today.
Okay.
Hey, this has been talked about a lot. You're in a rare fraternity of being a Black Shirt. Your thoughts on the way it's handled now, where there's less angst, and also for the newbies that got one yesterday, what is that like?
Yeah, I think every coach in the past has had their way of doing it. When I got my first one, it was with Callahan. So I know, Osborne had their system, Solich had their system. I got one in 2004 as a sophomore. I think I can't remember how many were handed out, but I think like 14 or 15 were handed out. And I know that changed with Pelini, and obviously it changed with Riley, and things changed with Frost, and taking them back, whatever it is. I like the way it's handled now. It's really the starters. It's really the true 11 starters. Obviously, Cam Lenhart got another one because he's considered a pseudo starter at that defensive end position. But there's nothing like it. The first time getting it, obviously a very emotional instance for me, just knowing what it represented, and knowing growing up in the state, and idolizing guys who'd worn it before, Grant Wistrom, Jason Peter, Jared Tomich, especially those guys in the D line, and then the pressure that comes along with it. But it's a good pressure because you have a standard to upkeep because of what those guys had established before you. And I like to think I did my best. Obviously, the wins didn't come and the championships we didn't have as those other guys. But it's the best fraternity in the world. And a lot of my former teammates and guys who I never even played with were like brothers, and I get to play golf with a lot of these guys and see them around town. And we act like we played with each other, but we didn't. But we know we're part of this club that is one of the most special groups that I've been honored to be a part of. So congratulations to those, first and foremost, congratulations to those 12 guys that got it. It's an honor, but there's a standard, right? There's a standard you got to upkeep, and this is easy as you got one. I'm not saying it's easy, but it can be taken away as well. So I know they will. That defense is going to be fantastic. They were so good last year, and there's the leadership and the quality of human beings on that defense. That's going to be fun to watch and fun to finally see them play on Saturday.
You said take it away. Tony White mentioned that when they all got theirs and they came out, said it was a cool thing, but also reminded them that their other jersey isn't that far away, that can be taken away. I know there was always pushing each other, holding each other accountable in fall camp, but when you finally get that and you're donning those, was that ever, in your experience, was it ever a conversation of maybe amongst yourselves, not even the coaching staff, of, we played at a certain level that we don't deserve to wear these, and that just that overall accountability factor amongst the group that is donning those? Did you ever experience that, and is that a big part of it?
I did not experience that. I think there is something to that. I think in 2004 we definitely did obviously not play up to the standard to deserve to wear those black shirts. I know there was plenty of guys who were really good players, right? And I think in 2005 we had one of the best defenses in the country. In 2006 as well. But just with the new staff and the unfamiliarity with everything, and a lot of it was, I'm not trying to blame the offense, but I mean, it's just completely square peg round whole situation. When you have an option quarterback trying to run West Coast, it just wasn't going to work. But I don't think I had the standard. We did not. I'll say we did not practice the right way. I think we finally learned how to practice the right way the next year, and you saw those results. So I don't think in 2004 if there was that amongst us, but everything was just kind of it was so new where you just showed up, and there were some guys did get it taken away by coaches during that time frame, but There was nothing amongst players that said, hey, our standard's not high enough. I think for the most part, we went out there and approached every day like it was our last and try to get better every day and try to hold that standard and keep up that standard that so many great players and teams before us had established. But I think this group right now, I think especially with Isaac Gifford, I think he's a guy that kind of is your accountability guy. Just being from the few practices and seeing some of those the chasing three shows, he's kind of that vocal leader within that defense, and I think he's definitely going to hold those players accountable. Not Tony White, not Rob Dvorak, not Coach Butler. It's going to be Isaac Gifford holding that defense. Those guys are very accountable.
So sticking with him, but then I'm going to throw Ty Robinson into the mix. So Ty is 23 years old. This will be his 6th year in the program, Jay. He came in here in 2019. He redshirted. So he has been part of Nebraska football with some changes. But he's 20 and 36 as a member of the Nebraska football program. And there are other guys like a Gifford that have been here 5-6 years that have never been to a bowl game. They've never experienced success. They've never been able to just stack win after win after win. And all of a sudden they come into 2024 and people are expecting Nebraska to win. How is this team built, in your opinion, to handle the transition to you haven't won, people are saying you're going to win, you kind of won last year. How do you put all of that together? What do you see of the makeup of this team that can come to fruition?
Yeah, I think that there's a lot to it. I think it's a lot of it rides on the defense because I said last night on Bigger Rep, I don't mean this in a negative way, but this team is old. You have guys on there that have the maturity level is high, and good teams that you look in the past that have won championships, they're older teams. They're junior and senior in 5th or 6th year, whatever it may be, senior lead teams. So there's that to it. But I think with this defense, and that's going to be the backbone of this team. So many guys are back, and there's so many guys in this defense I think are Sunday guys, not Ty Nash, Jamari, Singleton, Tommy Hill. Those guys can play on Sundays. So I think there's something to that as well. But I think Coach Rule might have already alluded to this in a previous press conference this week or even sometime in camp. That offense last year was young. A lot of guys had got thrown in the mix. So obviously with the turnovers, the unfamiliarity with everything, having to kind of learn a new offense in the middle of the season to suit Harburg's characteristics of what he has to bring and try to win games. This offense now, you have guys who have been through it, have learned. You have a quarterback, and I know is young and has all the weapons, has the tools around him. If the offensive line can stick together and stay healthy, I think this offense is finally going to help the defense out, and I think the special teams is going to turn a new leaf as well. The kicking game is going to improve. I think you're going to see a better return game as well. So I think just getting those other two phases helped out more, that's going to provide some wins. But you have to. Losing has been a habit of this program, but winning is you got to learn how to win too. So when those wins come, can you keep the complacency off? Can you keep your mind focused and just kind of head down and just go about your business? And I think just having a mature, older group, even though they haven't won as much, I think that won't be the case. I think you're going to see these guys continue to work and not be satisfied with anything and try to get to that, that 8-win mark that I think everyone's kind of not predicting, but they think that's kind of the level that can be attained for this group this year.
For a first game, I think there's always that. I don't mean to say this in a negative way, but I always feel like there's always going to be that built-in excuse of there's going to be first game mistakes, sloppiness on both sides, in all three phases, actually. But to your point about the age of this defense, but I think even more importantly, being more well-versed in this defense in year 2 under Tony White, with veterans, with a strong rotation, especially up front, what do you need to see on Saturday to validate your thoughts? I know there's a long season to go, but just on Saturday out of the gate, what do you need to see out of this defense to validate your thoughts on this group being an improved group from even a year ago?
Yeah, I think just with how UTEP's going to try to attack them with pace and spacing them out, they got to tackle. They got to tackle very, very well. It's going to be a lot of one-on-one situations, so I want to see the tackling. There's going to be some missed tackles, I get it, but there's still, if Isaac Gifford misses a tackle, whoever it is, or Makai Bayer misses a tackle, there's better be 3 other hats right there with them to clean it up. So tackling is the first thing. No big plays, right? No mental bust, no big plays. Yeah, they're going to get some first downs. That's just football. They're going to do that. So I think that's the other thing. No missed assignments, right? Alignments. Now I don't know exactly what the play call is, but you can that kind of comes in tie with big plays. And I want to see. It's going to be interesting to see this 3-3-5 and going into the second year with a lot of the same guys. What extra wrinkles are you going to kind of throw in here? Are you going to see guys moved around a little bit? You're going to see guys play maybe some different roles, have some different positions, because you can do do a lot of different things, and really just to see what young guys step up. We've heard a lot for some younger guys through camp that just showed up here on campus this spring and in this summer. Get kind of thrown in the two deep mix, see who kind of shows up, and if this game is rather comfortable in the second half with those young guys who can show up here and make some plays to show that there is some depth, because you need it. There's guys who get banged up, so I think tackling first and foremost, no big plays, miss assignments. Another thing, I guess this defense needs to create more turnovers. I think last year they were able to get 14 turnovers. They need to create more. The secondary is way too good. This defense is way too good that they got to take the ball away more. This needs to be their goal needs to be at least two turnovers a game this year, I think. And if they can get that done, it could be a pretty special group.
Blackshirt Jay Moore and his pet cricket from the back porch at his house joining us.
My apologies.
Well, I mean, they don't play along. They don't know you're on the radio.
Yeah.
The offensive identity will be what in 2024?
Oh man, that's kind of the $1 million question going forward with a young quarterback, right? First and foremost, I hope we're going to establish the run. That's what I want. That's what I want to see. I don't know if we're going to see it though. I think Satterfield and there's a want to throw the football. I mean, and I can't disagree to an extent because of the weapons that they have. When you're talking about Malachi Coleman, Jalen Lloyd, Banks, Nayor, Fedoni, Carter Nelson as a young kid getting thrown in the mix. The stable running backs who can catch the ball in the backfield as well, and then you have a quarterback that has the ability to throw it like we haven't had in a long time. So, but I want, first and foremost, you got to establish the run. You got to get this offensive line going, get them aggressive, get them some confidence, get the timing going, and then you can start doing some different things, right? But first of all, I want to see a strong commitment to it, and then you can start checking around, right? I don't know. I don't know exactly what it's going to look like. But I know that's what wins football games, and it will always win football games: the ability to run the football. And it's worked for hundreds of years, right? How long we've been playing this game, and especially you're going to need this when it gets cold here in November. You got to be able to run the football, and it's got to start early. And so that's why I hope I see. I don't know if we'll see that necessarily. I think it's going to be a lot of RPO situations where it obviously you could see a situation where it's a one high safety, two high safety look. What kind of coverage you're getting? You're going to see some motions going that kind of identify zone versus man coverage. So depending on what Rayola sees, and if he has full reins of it, like Rule said, like, hey, the playbook's open, we're not handcuffing him at all. Call some checks and boom, it might be a zone read look and a bubble pass to Fedoni or whatever it is, right? That is a pseudo run potentially if it's around line of scrimmage, but it's going to be unique, man. I think it's the positionless football is something to that, but I think that's kind of my main question for going into the season. What is this offense going to look like? And we don't know yet because they haven't had these weapons before, right? So it's going to be fun to see.
I know Matt Rule said that about giving him full reign. They're going to treat, as far as how they handle Dylan Raiola in week 1, the same way that they would handle him in week 12. What does that look like in your opinion in still trying to, I know you don't want to say this to Matt Rule because I think he took some exception to it of easing him in, but setting up Dylan for success right out of the gate, Jay, what does that look like in game 1 in your opinion?
Yeah, I think to me, and this is coming from a defensive-minded guy, but that's establishing the run. That's, and then getting them some easy throws. You're getting in second and manageable, third and manageable, to where you're setting them up for success. To where the defense is kind of on their heels. They don't know what's potentially come, so you can throw it, you can run it. Easy throws for him. But I don't. I mean, just with everything that, just like
the cricket just cut off the.
I forgot to pay the bill.
It's actually a great frozen screen.
It
though.
is.
He's breaking it down.
Jesus, he does not miss an arm.
So I think.
Oh, there we go.
We got him. You got me. Did you lose me?
We got you back. Yeah, we thought the
sorry.
cricket was doing something, but yeah, you're back.
Okay. I have to go back to it. I think they got to establish a run and get in that manageable situation for him. But I don't know what just the in-game situation is completely different. What is it going to be like when they get pinned on the 5? What's their plan on that? Quick change situation where they get a turnover on the 40. They're going to take a deep shot with Dylan because that's what most teams like to do in a quick change and sudden change situation. What's it going to look like in the red zone? Are they going to have Dylan try to run the ball at all? So all those kind of different situations, how are you going to handle it with a young quarterback? It's kind of an open book right now, and I think after this first game, I think we're kind of having a better idea, and I can give you a little better commentary on exactly what we're going to see. But tell you what, he's going to be a special player, and I don't want to hype him up too much, but what I've seen just from the few practices, man, it's we haven't had one like him to be able to throw the football like he has ability to. So it's gonna be rather fun to watch.
Yes, it will. It's great to have you back. We enjoyed it. Now you can go back to work.
Okay. Thanks, boys. We'll talk to you next week.
That's Jay Moore, black shirt, pride of Elkhorn, former Antler, and very, very popular out in the woods where he lives. You had the birds and the crickets.
Very peaceful.
That was kind of a StreamYard flex there. We're in our boring studio. He's out and living it right now. Looks very
like
nice
he could
out.
Still play.
Yeah, he's the bicep bandit right there.
We had a coworker come in just a minute ago, had a Royals jersey on. I can understand why.
I don't think that was relevant to the topic at all. So I feel like that was a shot.
Before we go to break, because we got to get to Marty Smith. He's going to join us in about 6 minutes from ESPN. Let's make some people happy.
Yes. Well,
a month from today.
Oh, yes.
Ironically.
Yeah, we're going to make some people happy. But what we're about to do to get you to win this, again, the number is 402-951-1620. We do have passes to Whiskey Fest, which is September 28th, day of the Purdue-Nebraska game, which Big Red Overreaction will be at. But you need to answer this question because we're going to do a little thing called Stats That'll Make You Drink, which Whiskey Fest is obviously a place where you could do that. I'm going to give you this stat. You got to name me this quarterback for Nebraska. In one game, I went 6 for 19 for 39 yards, averaging 2.1 per reception, and I threw 3 interceptions. 6 of 19, 39 yards, 3 interceptions for a QBR of 4.5. What quarterback am I? 402-951-1620. Those are stats that'll make you drink. 402-951-1620 to get passes to the Whiskey Fest.
That's a great idea. I like this.
Marty Smith from ESPN next.
1620, the Zone of Liberty First Credit Union Arena present Ralston Day, sponsored by Liberty First Credit Union and all of our stations. It's going on August 30th through September 2nd, starting tomorrow. Don't forget, you can watch the Husker game on Saturday there as well. It'll be taking place at the Liberty First Credit Union parking lot. Free admission, carnival rides, music, food, and trucks. Also, congrats to Patrick, who knew that was Zach Lee. Zach Lee was the stat that'll make you want to drink, and that was the 2009 Big 12 championship game.
All right, we are waiting the arrival of Marty Smith from ESPN. He's got a new project that he's involved in, but there's other things we'd like to talk with him. So we are hoping.
Yeah, just said he's running a little bit late. We just got an email.
Oh, we did?
Yep.
Oh,
just came in.
All right.
So he will be there. Yep, he said he's just a smidge behind.
A smidge?
A smidge. I don't know what a smidge is.
A smidge?
People interpret a smidge differently sometimes. A skosh? That's a regional thing, I think.
Yes, it is.
Skosh is up north.
I like scones.
Near Nova Scotia. Just a skosh.
Where Sidney Crosby's from? Put this on the discussion. Hopefully Happer will bring this up tomorrow on the roundtable when we're at Oscars. Between 12 and 1. Is there is, so I asked this of Jay. I probably did not phrase the question well. So Nebraska is 28 and 52 in the last 7 years. 28 and 52. Okay. There's all kinds of crazy stats of not starting 1-0, not starting 2-0. First time in 5 years Nebraska's had a home game to begin the year, all blah, 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 blah. But when people expect you to win, how do you react? Because people expected Nebraska to go to East Lansing on the first Saturday of November to become bowl eligible, and they didn't win, and they didn't win again. I hope we talk about that tomorrow, because I think that's an interesting, maybe a snarps can't talk about. We don't know. But that'll be something that Nebraska will have to deal with this year, is people expect Nebraska to win.
Yes.
I haven't necessarily expected Nebraska to win for
And that's one of those. Again, we're talking about 2024 goals. There's one there too. Handling success. When you're expected to. Absolutely.
All right, it's our Jimmy just hung up on him.
It wasn't him.
Oh.
That wasn't him.
Dang! I was all fired up. It was going to be a big lead-in.
Talk about releasing the balloon early.
And then you hung up, and I'm like, Marty!
No!
Kenny!
That was Joe.
I
told him to call back.
I was excited too.
Kenny!
You know. Still one of the best episodes ever. Kenny Rogers Roasters. Kenny. Yeah. So, I want to bring this up about the roundtable, though. A year ago, if people remember, I do blame you on a lot of what happened last year with Jeff Sims.
Whoa.
Didn't really.
Wow. Whoa.
Yeah.
Hold on here.
You spoke it into existence, man, on the roundtable of, is there a reason we haven't been getting a lot of Jeff Sims hype? And then you brought up you brought up, remember, there was excitement. I don't want to say people had grand aspirations of an 8-4 season.
I know what you're talking about. I did get a side eye from someone on the panel when I brought.
You brought up Jeff Sims, and you brought up you introduced a reason why maybe that hasn't been the crux of the discussion going into the season. And was there a reason behind that?
I was trying to be.
Yeah.
Thanks, I don't want to take a break here because it'll probably cold during the break. You know what? Yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
I'll make an executive decision here. We'll have a little bit more time as we wait Marty. A smidge. Thank you, Sammy, who is handling Marty's PR this morning.
Yeah.
Quick break. Come back. We will have Marty Smith. He is going to be calling in here shortly. So do not go anywhere. Right here on 1620 The Zone. All right, as we get ready for the big opening weekend of college football, this is a great person to have on the show. He's got a huge fan base here, along with his partner on Saturdays, Must Watch in the Lodge, Marty and McGee. Ryan McGee has been a longtime guest on 1620 The Zone. Marty Smith from ESPN is back with a new endeavor. Good morning, Marty. Thanks for your time once again back here in Omaha.
Pleasure's all mine. I love your town. I appreciate you. Yeah, McGee is like how many hosts y'all got? He's like the next wheel. However many y'all got. He's like the next wheel, man. That guy, he's like the king of Omaha.
Hey, he loves the College World Series. You guys need to bring the show to Omaha next June.
I completely agree with that. And I would love the opportunity. Honestly, guys, I've never been. So I would love the opportunity to be immersed in it. I mean, the energy is wonderful watching it on TV, and it's only growing. I mean, that's one of those properties that is really, I feel like in the last few years even, it's always been special, all the way back to Warren Morris and Eddie Furness for the LSU Tigers. But just a beautiful energy, and it seems to have escalated a bit just from my perspective from watching on TV. But you guys in your town do such a good job. It's one of those events that I love that it's the same place every year, and it becomes the identity. It's part of Omaha's identity, and I just think it's wonderful. Yeah, I got to get out there bad.
I know you're always busy with the U.S. Open around that time, too. So you go from the U.S. Open to Omaha. I mean, come on. That's a sports lover's dream right there. I think it'd be right in your wheelhouse.
It's crazy, too, because I kind of go mid-July through now mid-January. January 20th will be the national championship. Mm-hmm. It's all college football this fall, right? And then I always go into college basketball broadcasting. And then it's the golf majors and the Triple Crown horse racing. Yeah. And then by the end of getting to the, after the PGA Championship in mid-May, I'm just like, I'm just like, yeah.
What was that?
But that's a Marty and McGee-ism right there.
That was really good.
People always think we're flatulating on our show, but really, I promise we're doing that with our mouths. But nonetheless, I do got to get out there and see Omaha. And I tell you, I do want to bring the show, but I want to sit out there and have some cold beers with Morgan Wallen.
Oh yeah.
He was a regular there.
Before we talk a little bit about your newest endeavor, Game Change. The sports that you cover for ESPN and the kind of person you are a very passionate person. Whether the projects you're involved in, again, the sports, but you have a couple of sports that you cover have some of the most passionate and loyal fan bases. The great work you do with NASCAR, and then in college sports, in particular college football. I think the best way to start this week off and this interview, Marty, is to reach into the emotion of the college football fan. For a lot of us here in the Omaha market that haven't been able to travel to other places to watch games, what is a night game at Death Valley like?
Unparalleled. When I get asked what venue I've gone to across the entire sporting world. Now, we're removing Augusta National from the conversation because Augusta National stands alone. But from an intensity and an authenticity and truly stamping and injecting the energy of the platform, Death Valley is unparalleled. And that place is crazy, man. They got some pirates down there now. Like, there'll be a dude dressed like Darth Vader with a handle of Jack Daniels and a megaphone. Just like, yelling, "Go Tigers, Marty," talking like Coach O. And you want some gumbo? Like, it's the greatest experience. And then at the end of the third quarter, when they play Call Baton Rouge, I'm telling y'all, it's a concrete structure, and I mean it now, genuinely swaying. Because 100,000 people are singing that song at the top of their lungs. And it's just beautiful. The only way to describe it is it's beautiful, authentic college football energy. And I just love, I love that place anyway. I was just there on Monday. I spent all day Monday with the Tigers. I was in Athens all day Tuesday. Was that yesterday? God, it was yesterday. And talked to Billy Napier, Florida's head coach, for 30 minutes last night. I have the Miami at Florida game this weekend, but I just can't wait, man. If you can't tell, I'm jacked up and ready to go. And you guys, listen, I know there's a lot of optimism there with Dylan Raiola behind center and being a generational talent and having Matt Rule there, a guy who's really flipped the culture and doesn't seem to be taking a lot of BS and really is going to do it his way. I said this about Scott Frost. All right, let's go ahead and say that. I felt like Scott was the guy, and it didn't work out. But I think this just feels, if I'm you guys, I feel a ton of optimism. And I would imagine that's how it feels around Omaha, right?
Oh, yeah. There's tenfold. Absolutely. And as we get closer and closer, Marty, with everything going on starting this week, not only are we just with that old familiar feeling of college football's back, all's right in the world, but the significance of this year in college football with the expanded playoff, but where college football is. We know NIL, we know transfer portal, but now in the precipice of revenue share, all of that. Where are you at? Because you are one of the most, if not the most, passionate person when it comes to this game. What does this season mean to you, this new era of college football mean to you?
It's certainly transformative. With the 12-team playoff, I think there's more grace given to losses. You just look at Georgia's schedule, and they're fresh on my mind because I was there yesterday. They go to Texas. They go to Alabama. Mm-hmm. They play Ole Miss. They have a very difficult schedule. I think they could lose twice and still make the playoff. I'm serious.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not every team has that grace, but I think Georgia does. And I do think, though, that the one loss or whatnot doesn't just destroy your season or your opportunity. Now, in these conferences now where there's no more leagues or there's no more divisions, that makes that harder.
Yeah.
So it's a unique thing. And to your point about the rev share thing, all right, I just want there to be parameters created where everybody's playing with the same rules, because that's not the case right now.
Mm-hmm.
And one thing that, look, I'm an old man with gray hair. College football I fell in love with doesn't exist anymore. I love it to death, but it's different. And so now that we have this scenario where we have NIL, we have very transactional ball, I would like to see, as we move forward, once revenue sharing is entrenched, players have to sign contracts. Like, all right, cool. You're going to benefit from our collective. You're going to be a marquee person in our program. But if someone comes and wants you to transfer, there's going to be a buyout involved. There's going to be, maybe you pay back some of your collective money. I don't know what that looks like. There people that are smarter than me have to figure that out. But I think that and people have said, oh, well, coaches have had that right forever. Coaches had buyouts.
Yep.
Yeah.
There's differences, man.
Yeah. Hey, Marty, you spoke a little bit of the collectives, and it's something that you are now, as a spokesperson and advisor for, that people will start to hear a little bit more about. What is Game Change, which launched last weekend, that you are involved with?
I really appreciate you asking. And again, thank you guys so much for having me this morning. I appreciate your spirit and love your town. So Game Change is a really cool initiative. And when they first came to me to be involved with them, you kind of survey it. And as I looked at it, I'm like, this is really cool. What it is this. You know how you go to the grocery store now and they ask you to round up when you're paying your bill? It's a very similar platform. But what it is, you go to GoGameChange.com. GoGameChange.com. You input the credit or debit card of your choice, and every purchase you make with that card, the balance up to the next dollar is automatically rounded up and automatically sent to the school you chose on GoGameChange.com. It's a really unique way to financially help the schools you love. And, Nebraska has that Big Ten grant of rights from Fox. They make a lot of money there. But there's a lot of fans who want to contribute. They don't know how. They don't have millions of dollars to put their names on buildings and whatnot. This is a super easy way to do it. And it is a charitable donation. So it is a tax write-off at the end of the year, which I also found to be interesting. And then you have schools that might be a little lower level. Like I went to Radford University in Virginia. I've been worried, forget being competitive. Are we even going to be sustainable?
Yeah.
And this is a cool way for folks like us to contribute to our athletic programs. The money goes straight to the athletic program, and then the athletic department determines how they distribute that money. So it's cool, man. Go GameChange.com, put in your credit or debit card, choose your school, and you're off and running.
I got to ask you this. I knew when we had you on that one of my – this is just a random sports moment from the year. So I was on a golf trip with some buddies. I'm a bit of a golf sicko. And when we were
weirdest day of my career.
Okay. You know exactly where I'm going. It was at Valhalla when you were out there.
Yes.
Scotty Sheffler is coming back to the clubhouse after being arrested. You were one of the first people that he saw. I know he told you he loved you. I just need you to explain to me that entire situation and how, I mean, you've seen some stuff, man, how bizarre that was.
Yeah, it was a surreal day for all of us. You know, just so happened that my colleague, Jeff Darlington, who just did a phenomenal job. I mean, just a remarkable job that whole day reporting just what he saw.
Mm-hmm.
And he just happened to be in the car in front of Scotty when all this happened. So he had the presence of mind to hop out and capture it all. Well, my role on Thursday and Friday at the major championships is to interview the players as they're exiting the course. So I was supposed to come to work a little later that day, maybe 8:30, 9 o'clock. We go on air at 11, and I'm going to interview all the players. It's a Friday, so some guys are going to miss the cut who are big stars, guys are going to make it, leaderboard, whatever. Well, my phone rings, 6:02 in the morning, 6:05 in the morning, and it's my boss, Mike McQuaid.
Mm-hmm.
And Mike is a very direct man. And I was like, oh, God, I overslept. What's going on? So I look at the clock, and I'm like, Mike, what was going on? I thought somebody might – I didn't know what happened. And he goes, hey, listen, just get up, get dressed. Scotty Sheffler got arrested. And y'all ever seen that scene in Christmas Vacation when Clark Griswold goes, if I woke up this morning with my head sewn to the carpet, I'd have been less shocked. That's how I felt. But got up, got dressed as quick as I could, went to the golf course. I thought I would be going to the police department. But we learned that Scotty's going to be released from jail. And then we're hearing he's going to play that day. So I'm on, doing my very best to report, talking to various people in his camp. And then I find out what color car he's driving. I'm now on a microphone telling Mike, my boss, all right, look, he's in this car. He's going to be coming in at this time, blah, 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 blah. So up the hill he comes. Well, I'm standing at the entrance to the clubhouse where there's this little roundabout. And then I'm like, oh, God, he's going to get out at the locker room over there. And I won't even get a chance because my job was, by God, you get a comment. Yes, sir. So he drives right by me, and I'm like looking in this blacked out Range Rover, and they're like laughing at me as they're driving by. And so he gets out, and I just said, Scotty, what comment do you have about what happened to you this morning was my question. And that's when he just said, I love you, Marty, and walked in the clubhouse. And I followed him all the way until he teed off on 10 that day. And it was on the range with him in the pouring rain, watching his body language. He seemed so loose. Then he goes and shoots 66. The guy's a unicorn. He's an alien. But it's been a remarkable season. Jeff and I did a piece this week at Quail Hollow that actually airs on Sports Center today. I put it on my social media feeds where we debate Xander versus Scotty.
Yeah.
And, Scotty 6 wins plus the Masters, plus the players, plus a gold medal. And then you got Xander, who won 2 major championships in his breakthrough season. It's a hell of a debate. But, yeah, it was a wild day, man.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We had a bunch of cold beers that night.
Hey, we appreciate it. Continued success. Have a great season. You got a lot of fans here, you and Ryan, and you've got an open invitation next June. And we wish you the best of luck with GoGameChange.com. And you're always welcome in Omaha or on the show anytime, Marty.
Appreciate y'all. Thank you for your spirit. So grateful to spend time with you. Have a great day.
That's Marty Smith from ESPN.com. And again, his new project, GoGameChange.com.
I feel better now about life after hearing him.
Marty's one of one. He's one. But yeah, that was one of the most. I love that he was the first guy that Scotty Sheffler saw after that happened. And I just remember that entire interaction, that interview, and he was doing the live hit on Sports Center, and it was vintage Marty. But yeah, the I love you, Marty. It's just covering that. Just I don't know if anybody's going to cover that better than Marty.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We had a little change there, so we went a little bit long. We got the crossover coming up next. Good show, everybody. Tomorrow is Thursday.
Football tomorrow.
Another day closer.
2 days.
Football tomorrow.
Adrian Martinez
Football tomorrow. And don't forget the roundtable tomorrow as well. But we only have 2 more shows before the most anticipated season in a long time around here happens. We'll find more stuff to talk about tomorrow when we join you at 6. Crossovers next. For Nick, Jimmy, I'm Gary. It's Mornings with Sharp and Handley.